Hello and welcome to the East Blue Podcast. We are back, and today I'm joined by first-time guest, a special friend of mine, Jagger.
Hey, what's up? My name is Jagger. Nice to meet you guys.
Cool,
Good to be
and
here.
yep, nice to have you. Today we're going to be talking about anime. So this has been a highly anticipated topic. So
Yes.
I'm excited. Anime is like one of my favorite hobbies, as it is for Jagger. So getting started, the first question is, how did you get into anime, and what were a couple of the first anime you got to? So go ahead, Jack.
So it's actually funny though, because I guess how I got into anime, I remember the first because I feel like once you watch anime, right, you're like, wait, is this anime? You're kind of think it's like it's cartoon, right? And so when I was younger, I watched like Cartoon Network turned into Adult Swim, right? And Adult Swim actually aired a lot of anime back then. I didn't know that. I was like probably gosh, elementary school. And I ended up watching like it went from, Cartoon Network to like watching Family Guy, and then something like anime would be like Full Metal Alchemist came on, Big O came on.
Ooh,
Um
Big O. I didn't know.
yeah.
So oh, cool.
So it
That's
it
cool.
didn't really occur to me that I was watching anime. I was like, "Hey, this is actually like really cool." And then I didn't think it was until like later because I remember also watching like Naruto
Mhm.
in elementary too, and like at that point too, I was like, "Whoa!" I'm like, these shows are like I think ahead above the rest because I watched like a lot of cartoons, like your Nickelodeons or whatever,
Oh, for sure.
but these were like so far different, and so I think for sure it was probably until like years and years later, probably like middle school, where I ended up actually watching like Full Metal Alchemist on Netflix, and that was kind of like the first anime I actually really watched and acknowledged it as like, hey, this is an anime.
So what year was that? Was that Brotherhood or the original?
That was the original. So the
Oh yeah.
first anime I remember like it was for sure the original Full Metal Alchemist, and that was probably let's say here in middle school. I was 2000, 2009, 2010.
Nice.
Yeah, and that was an amazing thing because like that was such a good show to start off on, and I
Yeah.
loved it, and that's what pretty much started the whole anime craze for me. So what about you?
Yeah. So for me, so I started off like obviously there are things like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh, but even though those are anime, those are like the first ones. I never
Mm.
really considered it anime yet
Right.
because I wasn't really aware of it. But my first anime was sometime I think I was in like fifth grade. I just made a decision like, all right, there's this thing called Naruto. I'm gonna try it out. So I just go on. I remember I think I was like using YouTube and I watched the whole thing and I loved it and it was a great experience. So from there I'm like, all right, I'm into anime now. Now I need to try some other stuff. And then from there, I found I think my second anime was my brother recommended me Samurai Champloo, and then that was the second anime I watched. He had like the DVD, and then I watched that, and I loved that too.
Mhm.
And so to this day, those are like two of my favorites. And then from there, I would like go on the internet because I actually didn't have TV growing up, so I really just had to look either online or something like that, or have like DVDs of something. But and this is like before I had Netflix because now that opened up
Right.
more options. But yeah, I mean online you can find pretty much anything, bootleg it or whatever. But yeah, I'd go on like communities, like mainly like I think YouTube first because I first I would look once I caught up to Naruto, I'd look up like chapter reviews, and then from there I found people who did those, and then they'd recommend other anime, and then I found out about like One Piece and Fairy Tail and all these other things that I got into those, and then from there, I just discovered more anime, and then I discovered Crunchyroll, and then that opened up more
Oh yeah.
options, and yeah, that's how I got in anime.
Nice you.
All right. So the next question is, what do you like about anime? And then I guess also add to this is what makes anime special or different from other mediums?
I say for me, anime has been such a cool medium just because it's and I had to talk to somebody this about this like kind of like the other day as far as like, hey, why does anime need to be anime though? It can't just be like a regular show. And I was like, well, I'm like, anime appeals to you in a way because like one, I love animated things. I think the animation, like the effort that goes like into anime, is just it put the right studio behind it. At least
Mm.
it's beautifully done, and I think um, for them, they can kind of, if you're doing it in an anime, you can kind of go a little far fetched. You can kind of go a little sci-fi. You can put supernatural something in it without it being cheesy. Because a lot of people like TV shows, whatever that are like live action, right? They have kind of like cheesy effects if they
Oh
try to do
yeah,
something
definitely.
supernatural, and it doesn't come off like, oh wow, And
Yeah.
I mean, some anime, yes, there'll be like the like god awful CG, like that is abysmal. But I think anime for I think going outside like the realm of like hey, they can do something more like think of like Death Note or think of let's think of like I say Naruto, like
Yeah,
you cannot put
there's
that
certain
in a live
action
action.
sequences you couldn't do in live action.
There's just no way it's gonna come off good though.
Yeah.
Because I think if you take Naruto and you put it in a live action, it would have not been what it was. You know?
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes it different too. And I think the medium for it really has brought so many. Yes, you have your weebs and otakus and kind of like your nutty people, but it really did bring so many people together. I think as far as like, hey, this show has a great message, and that's what I really like. When an anime studio really puts their all in their heart in something, and something so great comes out of it. So
yeah,
I'd say that.
Well, there's a lot of different things I like about anime. I guess to start off, I like animation, and that's I like anime. I like animated movies like by Pixar and DreamWorks, and I like cartoons. So I just love animation. And past that, I think there's something special with anime. The first thing I would say is, like any medium, you're gonna have unique stories in anime that you can't find anywhere else. Like you said, like Death Note. That was made. My manga was made into an anime, and there's nothing else that has that. I mean, now they try to make a live action movie, but that didn't go very well. Yeah, and you got tons of these different stories that are unique to anime, and then past that, I think anime does something better than any other medium, which is the hype. Like anime brings the hype with just these moments, and again, I think it's based on that they were made from manga, which are comics, and I guess you could also compare this to comic books like superheroes too. It's just like they base the story off these like panels, like these shots of just epic moments, and then that when you translate that into anime, you get those kind of shots. Those things hype me up. And then the other thing I would say, what was I gonna say? Something makes it special or different from other mediums. Oh yeah, it's just like anime is like a celebration of itself. Like it's a celebration of these stories. You have openings, and they put so much work into the opening.
Yeah,
Who else does that? And live action stuff is just like quick, like sometimes just like a 10-second opening thing. Like anime's like, no, like we have this special show, and like we're gonna get this great music and these great animations of things that are gonna come in the show, and then you have the ending themes too. And it's just like I just feel like it's a celebration of stories. That's what anime is to me. Okay. So okay, that's good. Next we're gonna move into this segment that we're gonna do throughout the podcast, where we're gonna pick a genre and then talk about it. So first, Jagger, you can go ahead and pick a genre. Any genre, if you want, you can take a look at this.
I will start it off, I guess, on what I started, which was it's going to be pretty much action.
Oh, yeah.
Action, to me, that genre in anime has been so, like what you said, hype. Because I think, even my first anime, Full Metal Alchemist, had such amazing fights. Like, there was... and I think we can go into spoilers because it's Full Metal Alchemist.
Sure.
If you haven't seen... Well, yeah, if we talk about current anime, we'll kind of stay away from it. But... for Full Metal, I thought they had still some of my favorite fights. I thought between Edward or Greed or they had so many good fights, and it's just I loved the animation and the fight because I think there's like a huge weight behind each fight, and or at least what makes a good fight. So when there's like weight, I guess, behind a fight, and there's like stakes on the line, and you feel like, man, something like is great about to happen, and there's like so much hype, and then once it finally does happen, I think it really just delivers well as far as like what anime does. And so action anime is probably the most popular.
Yeah,
I
probably.
would say because you have your Dragon Ball Z's, you have your Naruto's, you have One Piece, you have
most popular anime right now. Like
exactly.
you'd have My Hero,
exactly,
Black Clover,
which blew up.
All those.
So I think that appeals to everybody because they kind of like the action. They like something that grips them, and obviously I love the fight scenes, and I think anime does a perfect job in creating some of the best action scenes in any medium.
Yeah, totally. Why I love the action genre too. It's among my favorites, if not my favorite in anime. I love several of my favorite anime are action series: Naruto, Yu Yu Hakusho, Fate Zero, and those are probably my three favorites as far as not only are they just great animes in general, but then their fights are amazing. And probably Naruto would be my favorite. Yeah. I mean, you think of some of these fight scenes like Rock Lee vs. Gaara.
Yeah,
it's just like incredible, and that's something again you can only find in anime. There are just certain things that they have a way of animating that you don't really see it as much in other genres. And another thing, actually, I forgot to say this, and this would be a good thing to bring up here, is why I like anime over other mediums, is that they have more mature stories. Like they'll show blood, they'll show more intense scenes that most cartoons, because our view of cartoons in the West is that cartoons are for kids, you don't really see that. There are exceptions. There are a few cartoons that are a little more violent. But anyway, you mainly get that in anime, right? You get these serious fights where people die sometimes, and when you get punched in the face, you spit out blood because that's what happens. So yeah, that I like action. I like the hype fights, and and with action, I feel like I still do think it needs to have a really good story where I am now, but it's fun. I think action is something that can be the most enjoyable sometimes.
Right.
So yeah, that's good for that. Let's see. Name 3 anime that you would recommend for newcomers.
Let's see here. It.
I can go first if you want. If you want to think.
Yeah,
about
go ahead. Go ahead.
So my 3. So to start off, again, going along the lines of something action oriented, that's gonna get people excited. Now, by the way, this is in 2019. 3 anime that you recommend. If you asked me this 5 or 10 years ago, I would have said Naruto for my first pick. And even though that is still an anime that I think it got me a lot of my friends, it got me into anime, and it got a lot of my friends. Like I have several friends that I'm like, hey, watch Naruto. They watch it, they loved it, and then they watch more stuff. So that's a good recommendation. But I think right now in 2019, I would recommend My Hero Academia because it's a great battle shonen, and it's modern and it's well paced and it's recent, and I feel like that's why it would be good for new people because people kind of want to get on a hype train of something that's airing right now rather than watch something older. So yeah, I think My Hero's good, and I feel like it's just reaching a wider demographic. Maybe not necessarily wider than Naruto, but as far as most anime goes, it's really reaching a mainstream audience. So that's a good one. Another one would be Death Note because again, I think it's an incredible story. It's an incredible concept. It shows people, if anyone thinks anime's for kids, you show them Death Note, they'll see anime can be very intense, and it can be philosophical, and it can have like characters that aren't all just good heroic people that are doing more morally great things. And it's just a very very well crafted story, a great thriller for people who like thrillers. And then my 3rd anime would be Sword Art Online. Now, even though it's not the best anime, I think it's a good anime for people starting off to see what the genre can do because, again, it has a lot of things. It has adventure, it has fantasy elements, it has a concept based off a game, so it kind of has some sci-fi, and it has like a romance, it has cool action scenes. So I feel like it has a lot of things that people want to see. Again, whether you like Sword Art Online or not, you have to admit it's an anime that a lot of beginners really enjoy, so it's a good one to get people into it. So those would be my 3.
So, as far as recommendations, I think I agree with you on what you said, and I think you have to know your audience. I don't think it could be like a universal, hey, this is my list and it works for everybody.
Yeah.
Just because, you have people, and there are Japanese, anime tropes that you kind of want to stay away from because that will scar people. And I think to the point where in Seiyo, there's a point where, you have your ending rate, like,
I know what you mean.
Borderline,
Whoa, that was definitely that was a
so it's just like you got to be careful, I think, with what you get somebody into, because I think Death Note 1 is a great one because that one has such a good story. It really is like it compels you to really like, hey, what's gonna happen next? And then on top of that, there's the back and forth between the main characters. Like you really get into like what's going to happen next, and like just the amazing story, and like the thought that goes behind each character, and like the stakes at the whole thing. So,
and to add one thing also, because I didn't say it, is Death Note's like really realistic, and I feel like that's a good one for people to start with who maybe don't want to jump into something that's if they're not used to anime and they jump right into a really one with a lot of anime tropes, they might not understand it and be weirded out by it.
Right.
But Death Note's pretty grounded. But anyway, continue.
Yeah, and I would stay away from comedies because, again, I think that goes off the tropes that, some certain anime can play off of, and they're not going to get it. It's not really going to be funny to them. Mm-hmm. They'd have to watch anime to really get, like, a Japanese comedy. So Death Note, I would say, would be one. Let's see here. I mean, I would say Full Metal Alchemist. It is on the longer side because I would probably want to stay away from something that's like on the longer side just because people are going to want to sit down and they'd rather have like a 12, 13 episode, I think. That'd be kind of like the most easiest gateway. So, I mean, I'll just say the recommendations that I gave my girlfriend, and I kind of gotten her into anime, what's worked for her. We started with Death Note, and then we moved our way into Erased, which Erased was a pretty good mystery, like kind of like thriller.
And it's really emotional. I feel like that's something it adds that is a good one for people to start with, compared to Death Note. It has a little more emotional impact.
Right. So she loved that, and I mean, despite the ending, and I think despite a lot of the shortcomings that Erased had, it is still very gripping, and it's still like you're really enjoying most of the ride up until the end.
I agree.
So she loved that one, and then what we're watching currently right now is Demon Slayer, and Demon Slayer, obviously everybody knows about that one because the hype behind it is pretty real. So yeah, she's like that one, and so we're moving on to I think another anime pretty soon here. But she also watched Promise Neverland. Promise Neverland would be a great one, just because again the first 12 episodes rather are just they're great. They're great.
Yeah.
So I think just amazing story, and short anime, and it has good characters. I think as long as you have those things, I think you're pretty good for newcomers to have good recommendations.
Nice. What is the last anime you finished, and what were your thoughts on it?
Let me pull up my list here. So from
Just the very last one, because we'll get into more later.
Let's see here, because either it was Darling in the Franxx, I think, was the last one I finished. Yeah, I think Darling in the Franxx was the last one I finished, and that one was. So personally for me, I loved it. I think it's still one of my favorite anime. It jumped up in my list just because I think a lot of people aren't gonna like it just because of there's certain things or the story, and I would agree. Last 3 episodes or so, last 4 episodes weren't the best, and it kind of jumped out of nowhere. And I love Studio Trigger rather, and I think a lot of their stuff is great. Personally, I love them, and so anything that they do. And the show was beautifully animated. The characters I really liked, as far as like you really felt like an emotional attachment to these kids, because kind of like a backstory, I guess, really quick just to describe it. So like these kids were in this like post-apocalyptic, like everybody in this world to this point has received immortality through the use of like science basically, and so they use they call it magma energy, right? And so they draw from the Earth's core basically to obtain this magma, which this magma has basically furthered and improved and enhanced their science to like a crazy level. So this whole dystopian like future has been created, and people are so like enamored with like, hey, like let's become immortal. They figured it out, so like everybody is immortal, but it made it so that I guess the procreation of like humanity was not able to continue, so they had to basically like stop it. Basically like, those immortal cannot have kids, right? And they can't.
I didn't
procreate.
know all this. So you're saying, wait, are the characters in the show immortal? Because I only saw the first episode.
So the adults are.
Oh,
and
okay.
So the adults, everybody to the adults are immortal, and so the only people, basically, that are like the children and stuff, they're all pretty much cloned and they're handmade or whatever, right? And like in labs. So.
And it's a mecha, right?
And it's a mecha anime. So the only thing is, the kids are the only ones that can pilot these mechas that fight the. They call them Calaxosaurs. That come up, and since they started mining for magma, these Calaxosaurs started like showing up and destroying things, and so the kids are the only ones that can really pilot these mechs, and they basically fight against the Calaxosaurs. And this whole story basically, that's kind of like the premise behind it. And so the characters, I think, really emotionally touched me, just because the kids were kind of like battling with themselves because their sole purpose was to pilot these mechas. And so they thought of, basically like, they didn't have a dad, they didn't have a mom. They were grown up to basically be, hey, you're going to pilot this mech because you have to go protect the adults. And so the adults kind of.
And wait, why again can't the adults go in the mechs? Or
so for trigger reasons, you have to have reproductive organs. Like you basically have to be able to.
Interesting.
Yeah. So basically you have to have those like kind of like genes or that kind of like,
All right.
Yeah, that ability to procreate. Sure. And so basically that's why the kids operate it, and they have to operate it in pairs, a boy and a girl. And,
are they both in the same mech? Because again, I still don't remember.
So they're in the same cockpit and everything, nice. And they're together. So I think just the emotional attachment, like I said, was amazing, and I think the kids really coming of age because it was kind of going through that puberty stage, and they were kind of finding out like just to like work through problems, becoming adults, and like making their own. Their way in life, and I guess finding their own purpose, because a lot of the purposes and the goals and everything was just kind of shoved upon them. And when that was taken, I guess, from them, like, say like the adults didn't really care about them like they thought they did. And that was like, that was a wow moment for them, because they're like, whoa, like we're in this alone. But then they kind of leaned on each other, and they really grew, and like they were, I don't know, I just loved the moments like that. I thought there were some pretty good moments personally.
Cool.
But yeah.
All right, the last anime I saw was Darker Than Black, and overall I'd say I enjoyed it. It was interesting because it reminded me of Death Note and Code Geass, in that in some ways, in that you had this main character who's kind of hiding his identity and doing things, but it also it had some other parts that were unique to it. It had like a lot of action with different people with superpowers. I guess the story is that you have like these, you have this city, and then you have these people who are contractors who have these powers, and then you have governments and different agencies that use them, and often like against each other. And yeah, I thought it was interesting, and it was also an interesting style because it was like episodic in a way. It was but 2 episodes at a time. There'd be like 2 episode story arcs, and I've never seen that actually before. I've seen like 1 episode story arcs, and I've seen like longer than 2 episodes, but I've never seen it like that. But it was interesting. I overall enjoyed the whole thing. Some cool characters. I was surprised. This one character, who was the detective, who was more comedic or whatever. He's kind of, I don't know if you remember him, but I ended up actually thinking he was pretty funny. I heard, well, my brother said like, I don't know, that character is kind of annoying, but I actually ended up liking him. Yeah, I thought he was one of my favorites.
Yeah, he was actually kind of.
Yeah, I thought him and his sister were pretty funny. And yeah, the main character is cool, and overall cool anime. Next, what are you watching right now?
So I'm actually watching, I feel like, a lot.
Yeah.
So the current anime right now, I'm on Demon Slayer. We're pretty much just finishing up. I think that ends up next episode. From the New World, which has been.
I don't want any spoilers, but tell me generally your thoughts. Yeah.
Generally, I thought it's right now. I think I'm on episode like 14, 15, and it's been pretty awesome. It starts off a little slow, like 2 episodes, 3 episodes. It's like on the 3rd or 4th episodes where it picks up. I think it has the same vibe of like, hey, like the adults are behind something and you don't really know everything. So there's kind of like, there's mystery. There's definitely action. Just because, the kids are kind of like their I guess their telekinesis or their telekinetic powers. Cause like they call them PK users, and they're insanely strong. Like a 1 PK user. Basically, I'll tell you like the first episode, like the premise.
Sure, yeah, that's fine. First episode.
So basically, like there's in the world, there's these people that began to kind of have PK users, like PK powers. They kind of start using them, right? And so a lot of people use them for evil. So there was just like pretty much a World War III that started, right? Because like people were like, hey, I have this power. I'm much stronger than a lot of other people. And they started, crazy stuff happening. So like basically the whole story takes place way further in the future, and you're following these kids that are going through school to kind of hone their powers. And it's kind of like this peaceful dystopia, but there's a lot of eerie, like you don't know what's going on. And it's like a lot of mystery behind it. I won't say much further, but it's cool. It's a pretty awesome show so far. I think it's been pretty highly recommended. It's like on like
nice.
150.
Yeah, it's pretty
high on the
rated
list. And so another one I'm watching is Magi.
Oh yeah,
Magi. I'm gonna give another chance just because I've watched it I think a few times, like the first episode or 2, and then I dropped it. And I've had a lot of people like the podcast I listen to and stuff, and there's a lot of people that recommend Magi. And they say the story's good, and I hear a lot about not Alibaba. What's his name? Sinbad. Yeah. Sinbad is like the most like crazy bad A character, right? And so I think I'm pretty excited to meet like the cast, and I really like the music's well done, the animation's good, the story seems pretty interesting so far, so I'm excited about it.
I'm in your same place because that's an anime I tried to get into, and then I dropped it. Mm-hmm. Actually, a couple times. I tried like twice.
Yeah.
But then I still like I hear people like hyping it up, so I almost feel like giving it another chance, but maybe someday. Yeah, because I've heard a lot of good stuff later on. Yeah.
Another one. I think this is the last one for the most part. Oh, is it? Yeah, it's Fire Force. Fire Force has been a pretty cool one too, just because I read a little bit of the manga right before it came out, and so I was pretty hyped about it. The animation for it is fantastic, I will say. I think I wouldn't say it's like underlooked because it's still pretty popular, but I would say it's definitely a pretty good one.
Yeah.
So a lot of good anime.
How similar does it feel to Soul Eater, since it's like
very?
People are saying
a lot
it's
of
the
homage.
Same writer.
Yeah, because it's the same writer. So there's the characters. Yeah, definitely, because you can tell like some of the characteristics and some of the features that they have and the character design. It's very reminiscent of Soul Eater. Which is cool. I love Soul Eater.
Yeah.
So I get a lot of the Soul Eater vibes though. A lot of the art styles, the direction they're going for. It's a lot of Soul Eater. So that's pretty much what I'm watching.
So for me, one thing, I don't really watch seasonal anime, and I guess we'll get to that in another question. But occasionally I do. It's not too often. But right now, I finally started my journey on one of the most critically acclaimed anime of all time. It's something I've really been meaning to watch. So I finally started Legend of the Galactic Heroes. So it's got a lot of hype behind it. So it's this big, epic space, opera political drama. And right now I'm like 10 episodes in. So the whole thing's like 110 episodes. So it's pretty long. So far I'm enjoying it. Now it's a little slow paced. That being said, it's very interesting, and I'm excited because there's not too many political dramas in anime. It's not a very, I don't know why, it's not something very often, at least like a serious one. But the tone's very serious, and basically the story setup is pretty interesting. So it's this huge war in space in the future, like 1500 years later. You have these two forces. You have this basically this one side, which is an empire, and they're fighting for control of the galaxy, and this other side, which is a democracy, and they're fighting for control. And you're introduced to different characters on each side, a lot of different characters, and then kind of like your main two characters are on each side of the conflict. They're kind of both these younger men who are kind of rising up in the ranks. So it seems interesting. It seems like it's really going to build up to this epic conflict, and it has a lot of complexity to its story. Like it's showing a lot of the flaws in both systems, even like the democracy side of it too. Even though it's a democracy and you might be rooting for them, they have a lot of issues in their system too. So it's fascinating. And then the other anime that I for whatever reason I just decided to give it another shot was Black Clover. So this is an anime I watched before. I got like 10 episodes in and then I dropped it. That was like a year ago when it was airing, because I just thought it was generic, and I thought it was just uninteresting, and it was cringy. And I really love battle shonen, and I'll watch like even like a decent battle shonen, but this is really getting close to the area where I'm like, if this is like bad, then I don't want to watch it. But that being said, first of all, I've heard a lot of hype. Have you heard a lot of hype about it, like the later parts? So Definitely. I've heard that. And also, I've been itching for another good battle shonen. I feel like it's been a while since I've seen a good one. Yeah. So I decided to give it another shot, and I decided this time to lower my expectations, because I feel like sometimes I'm like, I need to see the best anime next. I'm always doing that. And sometimes that's a good thing to do, but also sometimes I just want to enjoy this. I'm not looking for like a masterpiece. I just want something to enjoy. And I think just based on these first 5 episodes again, I'm enjoying it. And I do, even the first watch, I like the start of it, even though it is generic and even though characters are annoying. Yeah. It's Asa. Definitely, it's nothing special. Asa's annoying and it's cliche. I don't love that, but the setup is still like fun. Like you're opening up this adventure, you have each of them, Asta and going to different guilds, and that's exciting. And I'm really looking forward to learning more about the world and the different guilds. That's what I'm most excited for. And like I said, just another fun story. I'm looking forward to seeing the journeys of Asta and and then seeing some cool fight scenes, of course. So those are the two anime I've been watching. It's going to take a while for each of those, because those are both really long anime. Yeah. But anyway, let's see. Let's go to another genre. So this time I'm going to pick. So there's a lot of interesting genres. I'm going to start off with probably my other favorite genre, which is thriller. So thrillers, I love this genre. Now the thing about anime is there's not too many thrillers. I feel like it's one of the smallest genres that really I wish we had more. But I'll start off by naming some series I love. I think my favorite thrillers are Death Note, for sure, would be my favorite. It's just amazing, and it's like the strategies and the different planning and like societal conflict. I love that. Another one would be Monster, which is another amazing thriller. This one is just the setup to this story is probably the best I've seen in any story, in anime or manga. It's not for everyone, but if you want an amazing story, and more than just an amazing thriller, it just has amazing characters and just a really realistic tone, try out Monster. It's a little slower paced, but I think it's really good. And then my other favorite would be Psycho Pass. That's another great thriller. Again, just great crime thriller, great concepts exploring this futuristic society of like where the government has basically this ability to find your crime coefficient, and then they have the authority to like arrest or kill you. So it's setting up this really interesting conflict, and it's pretty thrilling. And I really just love the thriller genre. Like just about every single one I've seen, I enjoyed. There's a few more, and I'll let Jared go ahead. And I know another one. I know he likes Steins Gate. That's another really good thriller. But go ahead. Yeah.
I was gonna say Steins Gate. The two thriller that, like you said, it's pretty obscure to find a lot of like thriller anime. But I will say the two that stick out to me most, that are still in my top 20, will be Steins Gate. Steins Gate to me it's a little slow on the beginning. I bought it because like I I don't know, like you said, if there's like kind of like a sale or something
Yeah,
like
it
online.
was a good deal for a great
Yeah,
for a great anime.
it
So,
was gosh, how long is the anime right now?
24
26,
episodes.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I got it for like $27, and so that was like stupid,
Yeah.
stupid cheap. And so I bought it on Amazon, and I just at that time I had no TV, kind of like you. So like I literally just bought my anime and I popped it into my Blu-ray player, and I just watched it, and like no recommendations. I didn't have internet.
You're blind.
I
That's
was blind.
sometimes some of the best experiences are just blind.
Yeah,
going into
exactly.
something.
And so I went into blind. I had no idea, and I just went off the like reviews and the ratings, right? And I was like, dude, this has super high ratings, so I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna watch it. So it came. I watched it, and by episode, I think it's like 8 or 9 or something like that.
Yeah.
Where it picks up, where that kind of like this whole story just shifts.
That tone shift, man.
Yeah,
That was
it
intense.
was such a huge tone shift, and like the amount of plot twists in that show is just, it's crazy. And so the whole story was just gripping for me, like from the point of that shift and pretty much onwards to the rest of the show. So that one was my favorite, and another one too. It's a little bit less known, is Shiki. Shiki, I would say, is still probably one of my favorite thrillers, just because of how well it's done, and it poses like a lot of questions as far as like, you know, is, I don't know, is how far like are you willing to go just because you think something is like a monster, and it really like kind of changed it to be like, who really is the monster at the end of all the things, you know?
Yeah, that's a
It's
really
like,
interesting. That's kind of like what Monster also
Right.
questions that. That's a really interesting concept.
Yeah, and I thought it was really well done there, and it's obviously it's a show about vampires, if you don't know, and
I really need to watch that. It's on my list.
Right.
It'll be something I
and it's in a world where nobody knows what vampires are. Like they're obscure. It's not like a show like, hey, there's vampires, but we have like vampire hunters to kind of counteract it. It's like there's a small village, and they've known pretty much that they're small town village life their whole life, and things start happening, things get crazy, and they're like wondering like, why is this happening? Everyone thinks it's like it's curses and stuff, but it's actually vampires. And the whole story is basically leading up to like them finding out like what is going wrong. And so when they find, like, oh man, when stuff hits the fan though, I will tell you, it's really good. It's
sure.
really good. So yeah.
Cool. Let's see. Next question. What is your favorite OST in anime? So I guess I don't mean like a specific track. I mean like in general, like an anime's entire OST. Pick like one that you say is your favorite.
I'll say Made in Abyss. Made in Abyss has
That's
one of the best OSTs I think ever. I forget the guy who's the composer behind it, but he does actually some really good work. He actually did Rising of the Shield Hero.
Cool.
And so the music behind that, like the background, the openings, I thought were really well done. And but I'll stick on Made in Abyss. Made in Abyss was, man, I don't know, I just loved it. I think the soundtrack added such like a great element into like this fantasy kind of world that you popped into, just because I think it was really well drawn. One, like the backgrounds, the art, the style, basically, I think it really well with it. And to this day, I think Made in Abyss just has some soundtracks like the orchestra behind it, and kind of like how it was orchestrated, just I think it was done phenomenal.
For me, I would say Samurai Champloo is probably my favorite. Just has an amazing OST. You just got to listen to it. It's a great show, but I just love how it implements just this really chill music, and like this interesting soundtrack for what's a story about, war and death. Although it's it's funny at times, but yeah, I really love the soundtrack. I love the openings and endings, but also just I listen to that OST when I'm studying. That's one of the things I have. I click on it, and that's one, like I have this thing where it's just all the different soundtracks from Samurai Champloo, and I love it.
Well, I guess piggybacking on that one. Well, Nujabes he's a beast, and rest in peace, my dude. But man, that album is pretty awesome. It's fire. And I think he created. So well, good. I mean, honestly, I think that was such a huge influence on that lo-fi, like hip hop kind of thing that he created. And his work was just, it really, you groove with it. It's just, I don't know, it gets you moving. And I think they threw that into a show with that kind of like Japanese, like samurai hip hop kind of thing, which was really kind of like well done.
Yeah, it's cool.
It was cool.
Okay, name one protagonist that you like. It can be any. Just
one protagonist.
Just say why you like.
I'd say my recent one, recent-ish this year, would be Mob. Mob from Mob Psycho. Season 2 added to Mob, I think, so well, because season 1, for those who've seen Mob Psycho, was a great anime in itself. But season 2, I think, built on it so well. And the first episode of season 2 was just like such a shift. I think, because the season one was kind of like, hey, you have Mob. He's like this super crazy powered protagonist that he doesn't want to freak out, because if he freaks out, if he loses his, and he's powerful. Like, for those who have not seen the show, he's insanely strong. It's like similar to like the One Punch Man thing. Like,
and they're made by the same author, right?
They're the same author. It's the similar art styles. You'll tell. But Mom doesn't want to lose his stuff, just because if he feels like when he was younger, he ended up hurting, I think, his brother, his family, or something like that, because he lost control, and he doesn't want to do that again because he is so strong. He doesn't want to lose his power and kind of like take it out on other people. So he has this kind of thing where he's like, hey, I don't want to hurt others, but yeah, he's so strong. Mm-hmm. And so season 2, I think, built on his character so well as far as like developing him and kind of him coming up into his own character. I thought they did really well. And so, and the show is just fantastic. One of, I think, the best shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of protagonists I like. I'd say one that stands out would be Lelouch from Code Geass. I just thought he was really interesting in seeing his journey, and I like him. He's similar to Light to me, who's also one of my very favorites. But what I like about Lelouch is, even though he is doing a lot of crazy things, he's kind of being a terrorist and he's leading this revolution. I feel like he also does have feelings and emotions about it, and he does have human reactions to things, like. And whereas Light was just like a sociopath. And again, I think both directions are interesting, but I did like how Lelouch, sometimes he really did think about like, what am I doing, and is this right? And again, he's just, he's a genius. You gotta be entertained by those kind of characters, just saying all the things he does and his journey to the end. It's a pretty epic character arc, seeing him from the beginning to the end. It's just a nice, I don't know, it's a nice story there.
Yeah, I agree.
So let's see. Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh? Now we're just getting back to the nostalgia.
Man, I would say, because I grew up on both, so that is tough for me. I think Yu-Gi-Oh. I collected a lot of Pokemon. I played Yu-Gi-Oh. For me.
And by the way, we are comparing the anime though. Even you can have other things like
okay.
Like I like
going off the anime
because the games and the card, those are two.
I'll say Yu-Gi-Oh then.
Oh, the show.
I'd say the show. At least from what I've seen, because I've only seen like shoot, dude. The movies. I think the Pokemon movies were actually super good.
Yeah. Some of them were pretty good.
If that kind of goes into the anime, I don't know, but. I haven't seen any of their like current or newer stuff, but if we're talking about just like the old like
just
original
the classic,
Pokemon
whatever part you
and
enjoyed.
the original Yu-Gi-Oh, I would still say probably Yu-Gi-Oh. Even though some of Pokemon's movies I think they're pretty awesome. I think the first like 2 or 3
were pretty the first good. One was one of my favorites.
Yeah,
Pokemon the movie with
and that was awesome. And so I would say Yu-Gi-Oh. I think the overall story. Overall, kind of like the character development and stuff, I think is there, because for Pokemon you have Ash, you have Pikachu, and it's more rinse and repeat. So
I think you're not wrong there. It's tough for me because these are two, like, at one point in my life, each of these were like my favorite shows, throughout my childhood. I love both Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh. Obviously, I love the games and for each of them too. Between the animes, it's hard because for Pokemon, I really loved everything from the original up until Pokemon Advanced. So that kind of. Everything in those, I loved those. And then with Yu-Gi-Oh, I loved the original Yu-Gi-Oh, which was pretty long. And I also loved Yu-Gi-Oh GX. Those are basically, because those are both kind of built up my childhood. By the time I reached GX and Johto, or what is it? GX and Advance in each of those series, they were, like, I was enjoying it, but at that point I was getting to an age where I was ready to move on.
Yeah.
But that being said, they're both really good. I don't know which I would say I like better. I mean, they both are also kids shows, so when you go back, sometimes parts are cringy. But I think ultimately, if I had to only have one, I'd want to have Pokemon, because at the end of the day, it's just I just love like the adventure in the story, and I love all the different places, and I love I think I actually really liked Ash in the beginning. I don't know why. Some people think I don't know. Some people don't like Ash. I thought in the beginning, the original series, he was a pretty cool protagonist, as was Yugi too. I think he was good. And I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Definitely has more to its story, and it definitely has some darker themes. And Yu-Gi-Oh! Is really good too. I love the original story arc, was one of my favorites of Yu-Gi-Oh! And then, it was good. But I think I'd prefer Pokemon. I just like I said, I love the world, and I just think it's a really fun show. I love Ash, Brock, and Misty, and it's a good time. Yeah. Cool action scenes. Let's see. Now we're getting into the hot take territory. So, What are some high-rated or popular anime that you don't like?
Easy. Very hot take. I would
Oh.
say Cowboy Bebop was not that good.
Oh man,
I
upset people. That's okay. Some people think that.
Yeah, I
But go
mean,
ahead.
I don't know. For me, because I know it's like widely acclaimed. I know.
Yeah.
Well, it's a funny thing too. Actually, I think the Western appeal to it is a lot greater than the because it was really never that popular in Japan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because
Oh,
I feel like
interesting.
even
Yeah.
because we went there, I didn't see anything about Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so, but also other people I was talking to, and they said similar things.
I think
Um,
definitely the appeal when it came on whatever. Well, I don't even know what channel was that. Even Toonami or was that an Adult Swim kind of thing? But yeah, I definitely
Probably Adult Swim.
I've heard of its history like being huge in like America and other places in the West.
Yeah, so when I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong. I watched it quite a while ago. So if I were to watch it again, maybe I could change my opinion on it. But I thought the hype behind it, and it's supposed to be one of the top rated anime, I really think it wasn't that great. And it wasn't a bad show by any means. I don't think
Yeah.
it was a bad show. I just thought it was, I thought it was average. I thought there was still a lot of other shows that I thought were better, that have, the same hype or like kind of like less hype or whatever. For me, it was just a little disappointing because I was expecting something so great. And I actually watched the movie first with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that movie was
was
actually
pretty
really good.
Yeah.
And some of the fight scenes in that, like, what I do like about it, the hand drawn aesthetic of it, because it's like that 90s anime, and that appeals to me. And kind of like when they're fighting and stuff, you really get to see like every motion drawn out. And I thought that was super cool. And I thought they did that really well. The characters are cool. I'll give them that. I like Mike. I like what do you call it? Ed's a little here and there. Ed's kind of annoying for some people. Ed's, I don't know, sometimes like someone's spirit animal. So, I mean, and then Faye, I think her name was, or no, Valentine. Faye, or yeah, I think it's Faye Valentine or something like that. She was pretty cool protagonist. I mean, as far as like, side character as far as it goes, I thought she added to the cast, and I think the chemistry between all of them was pretty cool, and a good dub too at that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I will say, no, that's not a hot take. Oh, good. I'll let you go. I'll let you go.
Don't be too spicy now.
Yeah.
All right. I definitely have a few as far as like high rated ones that I guess they didn't appeal to me or I don't see the hype around it, but I think the most obvious example is Your Name. It's like it's in like the top 5 rated on Mal, and everyone says it's a masterpiece, and I just think it's decent. It's nothing more. It's a 6 out of 10. Like if you really, and I think to understand this, you need to watch it more than once. Because I'll admit, the first time I watched it, I thought it was great, and even now I still enjoy it. But when you rewatch it, you kind of see that like there's of the 3 acts, like some parts of it are just really like uninteresting, and the romance like hardly develops. And people also want to praise this as like one of the best romance anime, but I don't know. It's like
I still haven't seen it.
yeah,
so.
I still recommend watching it. I don't want to be like, so black and white on this. Like I'm not saying it's terrible just because I don't think it's like a masterpiece. I still think it's worth watching. And it's a good experience. I just think at where I'm at now, it's like I said, it's like a decent like 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
And another one that and I guess now we're almost getting to territories of disappointed anime, but an anime that's high rated that I was really looking forward to was Madoka Magica, because it was made by my boy Gen Urobuchi, who did Fate Zero and Psychopaths. Those are 2 of my favorite anime, and I just thought Madoka Magica was very average and boring. And I watched way for the like I kept giving it more episodes, like maybe it's gonna get better, but it's only 12 episodes. I ended up like around episode 7. I'm like, okay, I've had enough. I got past the part which was supposed to be the mind blowing plot twist, which was in my opinion. Wait, have you seen Madoka Magica?
No, you can spoil me.
I'm not gonna even spoil you. I just think it was just a total like a typical kind of plot twist. It just wasn't that interesting. But like I said, you can watch it for yourself, decide for yourself. I just thought it wasn't and I don't know if the whole thing about them being little girls is like what makes it better for people, but that to me, like I'm just looking at the story. I don't care about that. Like I don't care if there's cute girls. So that was a little disappointing. So yeah, I guess those are 2 that I could say. Well, this is a good transition because I have a few more that are maybe kind of high rated, but not too high, that I definitely didn't like.
Yeah,
so now let's transition into the most disappointing anime. Sorry, just to preface it, something that you were like personally excited for. Like you were like, this is like I'm looking forward to this, and then it let you down.
For me, I would say Fairy Tail. Fairy Tail, I think going back, I love like the whole magic and that kind of world it was building. So again, this is like back in my day where I used to like blind pick watch anime, so I'd buy it, and I bought like the first couple box sets or something like that. And so I was watching it, and I don't know, I just felt real disappointed. And yeah, actually, I'm
Yep.
staring at it right now.
Yeah, I got one.
So I don't know. I felt real disappointed because I really expected a lot out of this show because I think there was kind of like some pretty decent hype around it.
Oh yeah.
And everyone was kind of like, "Oh, dude, Fairy Tail, you got to watch this." And
It's huge hype on
and
it
so,
still. It's like
yeah.
it's got a following as big as well, maybe not as big as, but it's comparable to Naruto, One Piece, and My
Yeah.
Hero Academia with its following.
See, I hear now though, it's like the whole reverse. Like there's like the Black Clover thing, right? So like everybody, you know, I think because I hear a lot of things with Black Clover. Like my buddy like loves it.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, just put it in the background, watch it, and as soon as you get to like episode 40 and on, like it becomes great. So I was like,
Yeah,
okay,
it's that's always a tough
I mean-
recommendation where you're like, it gets better because in my opinion, like,
right,
pretty much every show I really love was good from episode 1. Even ones that start out slow, like Steins Gate, it was still really good from episode 1.
right.
So, but whatever, some shows are like that, I guess.
Yeah, and so I think for me too, because like it's hard to recommend something like that too, and like hard to jump
Yeah.
into something like that. Like, hey, it gets good,
And it's like 40 episodes. That's a
Yeah,
lot. If it was like 10
exactly.
episodes, I'm like, okay.
right.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. I was a little disappointed in that, and I think, I mean, I don't think I'll probably give it another chance. I hear great things
Yeah.
about it, and I hear like right now it's pretty awesome, but for me to devote another like 100 episodes just to get to where it's supposed to be good, I'm like, I'd rather watch so many other shows.
Yeah, and by the way, I just want to say, like, if you're not enjoying something, this is just in general for the listeners, I would say drop it. Like, don't kill yourself to watch something. There's so many things to watch, and I don't know. I feel like sometimes people watch things because they feel like they have to, whether it's really popular or it's highly rated. I'm just like, once you've given it a good shot, if you don't like it, just drop it because maybe your taste is different from whatever that show is.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you got any other ones, or is that the main one? Or?
Those were probably like the main two. I think the
Sure.
hot take for Cowboy and
Oh yeah, Cowboy Bebop too.
Yeah.
You'd say you're disappointed, yeah.
yeah. I mean, I was disappointed because I think there was a lot of hype behind it,
Sure.
and again, I was like kind of like let down a little bit because I was like, it was okay. So
Yep.
I'll let you know if I think of anything else.
Sure,
though.
sure. Well, I got two in mind that I was very excited for, and they're both pretty well rated. Like, just around the people who watch it, and if you go on Mal, they're both like 8.2 or higher. The first one's gonna be Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works.
Oh, yeah.
So one of my favorite anime of all time is Fate Zero. I love this anime. Its animation's amazing. Its characters are very interesting and very three-dimensional, and I love how the story follows all these different perspectives, and it's like this huge conflict involving all these different angles and all these different ideologies, and I just love it. And then Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works was the next anime I was gonna watch because I'm like, this is like a sequel or whatever you want to call it, and it's gonna be like the same. And then it was just super disappointing. I thought it was just very average, and it only followed like 2 or 3 of the servants. It felt like, and the rest of them were kind of barely got any time. And then the main characters, like, again, they weren't bad. Like, I mean, Shiro and what's the other girl, like Rin, Shiro and Rin, and then their servants, they weren't bad. They were just super average. Like, they just weren't interesting. And it was just like, if this wasn't Fate, like, I would like this. Like, I don't see why anyone would like this. Like, this would just be another average show. But I feel like because it's part of the Fate franchise and because it has that unlimited budget, works, animation going on, that people hype it up.
UFO table, dude.
Yeah. But it was just disappointing. Like, Saber, who I thought was this great character in Fate Zero, was like brought down to just a super one-dimensional, I don't know, boring character, and also like used as like fan service at one point. I'm like, what is this doing? And the tone too was just really, it was off. It was because the original Phase Zero is a very mature tone, and this one was like half and half. Like, sometimes it was mature, and then other times it would do, I don't know, weird humor or like something just like, I don't know, some weird thing. But
Yeah.
So I was very disappointed by that. The other one I was very disappointed, and this is one that's also controversial, is Terror and Resonance, because I love my thrillers, and this was the next one on my list. It was recommended that people were like, if you like Death Note and Psycho-Pass, watch Terror and Resonance. And I watched this thing, and this thing was bad. I thought it was legitimately bad. This story was like, in the first few episodes, it was like, all right, this is decent. Like, I'm not seeing a lot here that's interesting, but I can hold on to it. And then once, at a certain point, this character gets introduced in like episode 5, and it's just like complete nonsense. And it's, the characters, I feel like had so little to them, and the story was just insane. Like, it's a show, and if the only reason I finished it is because it was 11 episodes, and I wanted to finish it just to finish it and give it a whatever, a 3 out of 10. Put that on Mal. But anyway, I was disappointed. But
Spicy. Spicy.
Yeah, not every anime's for everyone. But
yeah.
Anyway, so those are probably my two. I'm trying to think if there's any other ones. I guess I was kind of disappointed by Magi because I was hyped up for that. but maybe I'll give it another chance. And then those are the ones Fate Stay Night and Terran Resonance I finished, and there are tons more I dropped. So those are two I finished, I would say. But there's so many more I could say that I dropped, but I don't even want to bother with those. Okay, let's see. What are your thoughts on anime dubs and the dub versus sub?
I mean, I started off loving dub just because I think it was easier, more accessible, and I bought all my DVDs at that time, right? So I bought all my anime, so it came with the dub most likely, and I don't know. I started with it, and I was like, okay, cool. I guess I'm gonna watch it. I don't like sub because it's a lot of reading, and I just don't like how it sounds. And then throughout the years of watching anime, I actually watched sub, and I liked it a lot better because I think the Japanese actors, I think like they put more feeling into it, they put more emotion into it, and I think it comes across like, hey, this is like how it was supposed to be watched and how it was supposed to be received. And I think dub, there are very few dubs that are very actually worth like, hey, I'd pick the dub over the sub.
Yeah, that's definitely
and
not too
so
common.
I think dub tries. I think if you watch dubbed anime and if you watch a lot of shows dubbed, which I did, there's a lot of similar actors. Like they use the same actors. Like you're gonna see like, oh hey, there's that guy, and he's also
you do hear some of the same voices. Yeah,
and it happens in sub too. But
they just take. I feel like their industry takes it more seriously because they have
right.
so many more voice actors than just because obviously an anime in Japan's way bigger than it is in America.
Yeah. So I think I prefer sub for sure.
Yeah.
And dub is the lesser of the both, but I'll enjoy a good dub, and I think dub is good for like when you want to put it in the background and when you want to watch. Because like if I'm cooking or if I'm like doing something, like I'll put it on the background and put it on dub so I can hear it, and so I don't have to like look at the screen like 24/7. So it's a good option, I think, if you're trying to do something else or like just throw it in the background, or hey, if you have a good dub, then I mean we could talk about good dubs. But
I was gonna say, what are some of the best dubs you think?
I still love. I think Full Metal Alchemist has a really good dub.
Hard agree.
I would say they picked a lot of good actors, and they really, I think, came across the emotion. Like Ed, perfect.
So good, man. I love Ed's voice.
Ed, I thought did so well.
Yeah.
Alphonse also a really good pick because he's kind of going for that younger brother, and I loved how. I guess that's like the nuance that they put in there, like kind of like the effects of like his voice being in armor. And it was kind of like an echo to his voice.
FMA, it feels like it's a dub that's so good that if a normie was watching it and they didn't know what anime was, they would think, yeah, this was a cartoon that was made, and they,
right.
It's like feels like it was made here because they put that much care into it. Mm-hmm. But and there's other anime where you're like, it obviously feels like it's being voiced over or whatever.
Yeah, and I thought even too like Mustang, another great voice. I thought he did super well. I like Mustang's voice. They dubbed him pretty well. I'm trying to think of other people. Winry. I thought Winry did good. She was a good voice for it. But yeah, I think the whole cast was pretty well dubbed. As far as Full Metal goes, let's see. Man. I hear Baccano has a good dub. I think.
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it either. That's on my list though. I do want to watch Baccano. But yeah, I think Psycho-Pass had a pretty good one.
Yeah, I like Psycho-Pass's dub. I watched it dubbed.
Yeah, that's how I watched it dubbed. I actually to this day have not watched Death Note subbed.
Dude, yeah, that was gonna be another of my choices. I love the Death Note dub.
Yeah,
Light's voice is amazing.
I thought they did pretty well. With L, with Light, with Ryuk. Ryuk, pretty good job. So I would say those are probably like the dubs that stick out to me most. I'm sure. More.
Well, I'm someone where I know a lot of people hate dubs and they're kind of subverse. They mainly do subs, and I'm okay with dub or sub for most times. I mean, there are only certain cases where if a dub is terrible, and that's the thing. It usually only is a dub is bad. With sub, it's like I don't think I've ever encountered a sub where I thought the sub was bad. Yeah. Except for Black Clover, that was one. If you try to watch that sub with Asta's screaming voice, that one I had to try dub. But anyway, I'm actually okay with dub. Like I would say I watch close to 50% of my anime dub, just because a lot of them, like if I watch it on Netflix or Hulu, they pretty decent amount of time they'll have the dub, and then if I have a DVD or the main reason, obviously, if I'm watching something brand new, then I have to watch it subbed, and I'm fine with that. I can do subbed. If I'm watching something that's never been dubbed, then of course I have to watch it subbed.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy dubbed. Like I like sometimes if I want to just, like you said, kind of sit back, not pay too close attention to reading the lines, you can just put a dub on.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think I'll at least with a lot of the anime I've seen, I've enjoyed the dubs. Like I'll go through them. I like Death Note. I like FMA. I like Naruto. I thought Steins Gate I watched dubbed. I thought that was a good dub.
Yeah. That was good.
Attack on Titan, I like it sub and dub. I thought both are good.
I haven't listened to the dub actually.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. When I rewatched the season, I liked the dub. Now there are definitely bad dubs. One Piece, it sucks because I think One Piece does overall a decent job with a lot of the voices, but there are just certain ones that really get on my nerves at some point. Even though I still watch like hundreds of episodes of it dubbed, but like Luffy's voice after a while, I kind of get tired of his dub voice. So
Yeah.
it's just like something about I don't know, something about the way they do it over here. Sometimes it's with shonen anime. Sometimes they just do these like certain screams that just get annoying. I don't know, or just these certain type of voices. I feel like I hear, like you said, the same ones over and over. But yeah, like I said, there's some great dubs. Like Naruto's dub, I really like. Even though Naruto's voice, I got used to it. I enjoyed it. But there's a lot of great voices in there. Like Jiraiya's voice actor was great. I pretty much enjoyed like all of them. Like when I hear the English dub, I think of the character. When I hear Shikamaru's voice, I think of his character. When I hear Rock Lee's voice or Sasuke's voice, I think of that character.
Right.
So I think those are really good. So yeah, I'm pretty neutral. I'll just watch whatever's most convenient. If I have to watch it sub or dub. But yeah, if it's a bad dub, I will definitely switch to sub.
I'll say Dragon Ball Z. If you haven't watched that subbed, don't.
Oh yeah,
Don't try
that's
it.
interesting.
It's Goku's voice. Good God, it's just terrible.
I think I've heard
recently
it. Yeah,
I recently watched. Recently, kind of like in the like a year or something like that ago. I was watching Dragon Ball Super. I was trying to keeping up with that, and that's subbed. It hasn't been like fully dubbed yet, right? Or it may have. I don't know. It may have been now. But when I was watching it, at least it was just subbed. I was watching it on Crunchyroll, and as it was coming out, I was watching it subbed, and man, that was hard to get into. I was watching it. I'm probably like 60, 70 episodes in, and I dropped it or whatever, and I was like, whatever.
Yeah. Oh,
but
sorry.
the dub is, I think, so much better. I think I cannot watch subbed Dragon Ball.
By the way, I heard this before and I agree with it. When they try to translate certain types of Japanese humor sometimes into dub, it doesn't sound good. Like certain words, like when they try to say them, then in English, it just like sounds so cringy.
Yo, I will say though, I love Japanese English. The Janglish.
The English? Or wait, which way are we talking? The English
No,
or the
yeah,
Janglish?
the English. That happened in Terra and Resonance,
dude,
for sure.
Yes.
Dude, that was cringy. I was like, bro, but I love it though, because it's part of the culture. I'm like, dude. Oh, I think the
what you mean?
What do you call it? Samurai Champloo. There was an episode where they played baseball, right? And so,
I remember that.
The guy was like, Yankee Doodle?
Yeah. The dub, I did want to say, Tumar forgot, Samurai Champloo, amazing dub.
Yeah, that's true.
And that voice actor, isn't it the same one who does Mugen and
Spike?
Spike? Dude, he has to be like possibly the best voice actor in all of anime. Just so amazing. Yeah. And then Yu Yu Hakusho also has an amazing dub. That's one where I would even recommend the dub over the sub. So that's pretty much, yeah, the English sounds funny because in Kuroko's Basketball they do that too because they play Americans, and I'm like, the only thing that's weird is how would they ever dub this because they have Americans doing English. I don't know.
I'm surprised they haven't dubbed that honestly because it's basketball.
Dude, I know.
You would think.
I thought that for years. I'm like, this would appeal so well to Americans. Like, dub this, and it's so cool. And that's another, just like example of really cool action animated. Like those basketball scenes are so sick.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see, your favorite anime YouTubers, if you have any that you enjoy?
I love Gigguk. Gigguk is, he's I don't think he has any hot takes really. He's pretty neutral as far as everything goes. He'll
really well-made videos.
He's really, well-made videos, and I think he does, bring about like a really like good kind of opinion, and it's really just, I think, sculpted. Whatever he says, his scripting is, I think, pretty on point. Because he does release a lot of good videos, and I think his Mimi videos are pretty funny too. I think he did one on the Fate franchise on like where to start. I don't know if you've seen that one.
I think I saw that one.
It's pretty funny because like, I don't know, he just releases a lot of good stuff. So I watched Gigguk. He's probably been the first and like the most. He's still probably my favorite. Yeah. Because I think his content is pretty awesome. And I watch the other two. I think are more like the actual like any YouTubers or whatever. Would be Nuxtaku, which I just got into, and I watched some of his videos.
Yeah. And you got me to get into him too, because I didn't like him at first. His voice was annoying. But yeah, it's annoing. But I do like his opinions. I think he has a fair I like his perspective on things. Yeah, and he really thinks like if you watch his videos, he thinks the things out pretty well. And their podcast is fun.
Yeah, the Rant Anime Cafe or the anime whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think Nuxtaku was a good one. I came across one of his videos that was like which one was it first? I think it was like the ideology of like behind Battle Shonen or something like that, and it talked about like basically
he does this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
it's cool.
He does. He has a really good I think take on it.
Yeah.
On a lot of things, and then I think the last one's like Mother's Basement. I watched some of his stuff, and some of his stuff is pretty good. Some of it's a little memey, but it's good though overall.
Yep. Well, my history on YouTube goes back pretty far because first of all, I've been on YouTube like just watching YouTube videos, since like 2008 or whatever. Oh, yeah. Probably even before that, but like seriously watching, like getting involved in like YouTube channels probably 2008, 2009. And then where I really started getting into YouTube channels was when I caught up to Naruto. I think this was in like 2010 or 2011, probably like 2011. I would first go to YouTube to find chapters. Okay, that was because I didn't know where to go to read chapters. So I'd look up chapters on YouTube, but eventually, pretty quickly, I found people who would put a thumbnail of the chapter. So I'd click on it thinking I'm going to read the chapter, like they're going to like play through the pages, and then be a reviewer. Who is like trying to get views or whatever. But yeah, it is what it is. But then from there, I actually started listening to these reviewers. And then I got into that. And actually for a few years, I was like, every week I'd read the chapter and then I'd have like, if you were ever involved in like the Naruto or One Piece communities, there's a bunch of reviewers and they have an interesting history of beef and stuff. And it was actually pretty funny to see all that play out. There were some of them that were pretty controversial, but I'd say to this day, my favorites from that era of my anime, hobby, King of Lightning is probably one of my favorites as far as the shonen hype. I love his videos. Also, Uber Hikari. That's a throwback guy who doesn't really do videos anymore, but I like him. He's pretty intelligent. Sorry, 7 Mage was pretty good for Naruto stuff too. And past that, just more in general, people who do other anime stuff. I also like Nextaku. That's one I started recently. And the Rant Cafe podcast.
Yeah,
I also like Bob Samurai. I think he does really good anime reviews, and he's versatile. He also does like older anime, not just the whatever is recent. And I'm trying to think. So another one, and again, I really like. I'll listen to someone even if I disagree with them, like as long as I feel like they're speaking like their mind. So even Digibro, I don't know if you've heard of him. He's very controversial in the anime world.
No, I haven't.
And the YouTube anime community. I actually I kind of enjoy him. I definitely disagree with him on a lot of things, but at least he's not really appealing to like whatever's mainstream to get views. So I enjoy hearing his perspective. And Giga, he does well-made videos. And there's probably a bunch of others. I can't remember all their names, but I do like people who do like in-depth discussions on stories.
Yeah.
And I like people who just like, I don't know, just talk about anime. I like hearing people talk about anime.
Yeah, no, it's a cool thing because I think it appeals to a lot of people because when you have anime, you want to tell somebody about it. You want to talk to somebody about it. And you go, to the internet. To find these people, and they give, I think, because I'll search up reviews, I'll search up like recommendations, I'll search up, and I think it's pretty cool what they do. At least I think dissecting a lot of shows, and I think that takes effort in itself, and then also they have like interesting thought behind a lot of what goes behind the scenes, and they do their research. I think pretty well.
One more is Rogers Base. He's more in the last few years. He's kind of started blowing up, and I really like him. He mainly does like One Piece, but he's also doing like My Hero and like Promised Neverland stuff. He's just a really positive guy. I like him. He's cool. So let's do another genre. So Jagger, how about you pick one for us?
I will say the one I've been recently getting into is I'd say comedy.
All right.
Comedy, it took me a while to come around. Just because I didn't find it funny. I don't know. I was like, when I first started watching anime, I was like, I didn't get the whole appeal of like comedy. So gosh, I'm trying to think of. Well, actually, I would say the one comedy that I got into. My first one was The Devil is a Part-Timer.
Yes.
And so that one's funny, dude. My computer is still named after his bicycle he called Doulahan. I named pretty much all my computers that. So that one I thought was super funny. Just because I thought it appealed to me. It didn't take much, like it wasn't like anime tropes. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like, hey, you have to like get anime to really get the joke. And so I thought it was just like playing out. It was funny. I actually, laughed out loud for it. So I thought that was kind of like the gateway for me. And I watched that, and like a year or two goes by, and I kind of branched out to like other comedies. I watched Konosuba. Konosuba was actually pretty funny.
Would you recommend that to me? Because
I would say if you're looking for comedy, yes. It's it's a whole isekai, but it's a spoof isekai basically. Because
I might try it out. I've heard good things.
It's pretty good. It's 2 seasons. I think they're doing a 3rd season, or the 3rd season will probably be a movie. I think it's a movie. But yeah, the first 2 seasons, you can just literally just watch the first 2 episodes. If that'll be like, hey, if you're gonna like it or you're not gonna like it, because it's pretty much the same throughout. There's like kind of a story to it. But it's mostly like episodic and like their whole adventure and like kind of the wacky stuff that they do. And I think the characters, the characters, dude, I love them. How well they get, they don't get along together. I think the moments and situations that they could put into is just amazing. It's funny. Another comedy I'd say stood out to me was what was it? I just watched it recently. It was kind of a rom com, but it's somewhere in between.
Kaguya-sama?
Kaguya-sama, Love is War. That was a good one. I actually laughed at that one. Gosh, what was her name?
Which are you talking about? The other one, Chika?
Chika, dude. Chika was amazing. I love Chika. When Chika trained the president to play volleyball, and because he was garbage at it, and so when she finally got him to play and got him up to speed, I guess to basically impress his love interest, right? And so everybody was like impressed with him. Chika was like pulling all nighters, like training him, and so when she was like, she's like, oh, I trained him. That's my boy. And she like band-aids on her, and like she had like scratches.
She was an interesting character.
Oh man, she was funny. She actually what kind of made that show. Yeah. She added a lot of spice to that show. But I would say comedy is something now I super enjoy, just because nice. I think I don't know. If you find the right ones, they're pretty funny.
Yeah, for me, I like just about every genre, but there's only two that don't really appeal to me. One of them is slice of life, and the other one is comedy. So I've tried to find really good comedy. I mean, I just when it comes to anime, I just don't really enjoy the comedy. I think I love comedy like shows. I love The Office and Seinfeld and Parks and Rec and all those kind of shows, Arrested Development. But when it comes to anime, I'm most of the time I'm not really into the humor. I especially dislike anime trope humor. I just do not think that's funny. And I don't like, I don't know, the community around that. I just think it's cringy. But I have found a few in comedy I enjoyed. Like you said, I like Devil as a Part-Timer. I also enjoyed Kaguya-sama. I read the manga for that. And then I do like shows with elements of comedy. Like, I don't really watch straight comedies, but like that's another thing I like about the battle shonen genre is they usually have comedy in it, and I think it's pretty funny. Like, I always thought Naruto was funny. Yu Yu Hakusho had funny moments, and in general, Bleach, like these kind of shows are pretty funny. But again, when it comes to my taste, I don't like comedy. And it's nothing like it's nothing against people who like comedy anime, but it's in opposition to what I like which is a serious story that is going to be coherent and is going to be consistent. Because when you have comedy, then that doesn't really matter. Then you can have a comedy thing like you had this epic fight and then it just ends in a spoof or something. Like, I don't know. Right. So like I said, comedy doesn't really appeal to me, but I'm still on the lookout. Like, I might try that Konosuba because at this point, I'd be down to watch a straight comedy going into it, knowing like I don't have to take it seriously. I might, but again, it's just I would rather watch all these other things. I'd rather watch a sci-fi or a fantasy or a serious drama. And then with slice of life, I have similar feelings about just being uninterested by it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Next question. Who is a controversial character that you like? So someone who maybe has some people who loves him, some people who don't like him.
I personally, I don't know. You go first.
Sure. One character who I've heard is actually more controversial, and I was surprised to hear about this, is Suzaku from Code Geass. Have you ever heard of the hate for Suzaku? No, it surprised me too. Look into it. Some people think he's a complete fool in his beliefs, and they think like they just don't like his character.
I can see why. I mean, because I can see that.
Okay, first of all, the argument, even if you say that he's a fool in his beliefs because he's like propping up an empire that's like oppressive, there's multiple levels that I like Suzaku's character. First of all, I think that he's essential to the story. He's a character foil for Lelouch, an opposite force to him, and with Suzaku, we're able to have a perspective into the empire side of Britannia, and then with Lelouch's perspective, then we get to see the revolution side of it. And then also, I think his character, again, I think on a certain level, it's fair to think, I'm going to change from within. I think that's a fair idea. And then further than that, let's say you disagree with him. I still think that having a character that does something, even if you disagree with them, that doesn't make them a bad character. Because we have people in real life who do things like this, who have beliefs that I'm going to change the system from within. And hey, maybe they end up propping up, supporting a government that is evil by doing that. But that is people in real life. And to have this story be realistic, you're going to have people like that. So, like, I feel like even if you think he's a fool, that still isn't grounds to say he's a bad character, because I think he's a great character. I think he's essential, and I really enjoy. I think he brings a lot of the themes come from his character, as well as Lelouch and others. But like if you took out Suzaku, you would be missing a lot of the story. So that's one. I'm trying to think if there's any big examples of it. I'll let you if you got one.
I don't know. I don't really have one right now.
All right, that's cool.
I can't think of anything that really is like controversial as far as like me going against the grain.
Yeah, well, we could also say the opposite. Who's a popular, or I guess, well-loved character or just not even that. Just say a character you don't like if you want. I don't know. To go the other way.
Characters I don't like. I would say.
I'm trying to think of every anime I've ever dropped. I'm trying to think of.
Yeah, I know.
Or I'm trying to think of even just anime I didn't like. I thought the two protagonists of Codebreakers were terrible characters. I know you haven't seen. I just think that's a really bad anime, and anyone who's I don't know. It's an anime that most people haven't seen. I just watched it on a whim, and the two characters were just so bad, and just in general that anime is really bad. So,
yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, for me, I don't know. I can't speak much on this one.
That's fine. Well, then we can move on to a new question. So this is a good one. Where do you watch anime? Right? If we're people who watch anime, where do we watch it?
I would say, well, I mean, for me, I watch right now currently mostly Crunchyroll. I have pretty much every streaming service ever. I have Netflix, I have Hulu, I have Crunchyroll, I have Amazon.
Dude, you're set.
Yeah, dude, I'm set and a half. So for me, I think what it started though, I was like looking back, and I think I was telling you this earlier. Like for me, when I was like first getting into anime, it was hard to get into anime because like I had nothing to watch it on because I didn't have TV really. Like from middle school onwards, I didn't have
I missed out on that Toonami. I wish I could have been in that, but missed it.
And so a lot of the stuff I would just buy and then pop it into my PS4. And I didn't have any like streaming services or whatever. I didn't have internet, so I just literally had a PS4 for like single player games and whatever. So that would kind of hinder me like finding a lot of anime just because I'd have to wait to buy it. So now I think it's becoming such a huge, wide phenomenon, anime itself. So now it's like Netflix is like, it's a pretty big thing.
Yeah.
So, and it's becoming more like accessible because, you go back like 10 years and really Crunchyroll wasn't a thing that much.
Yeah.
Netflix didn't have really anything on it. Hulu, so all these streaming services I think really helped propel the anime industry a huge amount into the Western, I think, appeal. So, but yeah, I mostly watch on Crunchyroll. And if Amazon has some good ones because they have licensing, kind of like the whole, like, I really want to get into Vinland Saga.
Mm-hmm.
And they have the rights to that and no one else does. So, I mean, obviously you can go to like, your bootleg sites and I know that's illegal, but I feel like a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that was most of my first few years of anime. Mostly anime I watched was on bootleg sites. I'd just look it up until I found one. I'd get these viruses, but eventually.
Dude, the ads on those things. Dude.
I remember like the first one was Naruto Get. That was for all the Naruto stuff. And then what was cool is on the top tabs, they had a link to like a One Piece one, a Bleach one, a Dragon Ball one, and that's how I discovered some other ones. And then past that, basically once I got, like I said, I got in the YouTube community, I heard about more stuff, and then I found my way to Crunchyroll. I'd watch anime there. I never bought it. I remember, I don't know if they changed their policy now, but I used to be able to watch it with like ad blocker.
I think you still can.
But sometimes they would not. I don't even get how it works because sometimes it wouldn't work. And like even now, sometimes it kicks me. Like it says like you can't have ad blocker on, and then other times it works. I don't know.
They got smart.
But yeah, anyway, I would use Crunchyroll. That'd be a good place. And then the other thing I do, like you, I'd buy DVDs and Blu-rays. Mm-hmm. That wasn't the most economical choice, but I would try my best to do research on them. There's only been a few that I own that I wish I didn't buy. But for the most part, I try to watch a few episodes and then I'd buy it. And I like pretty much everything in my collection. And aside from that, now and today, I still, if it's a really hard anime to find, I'll bootleg it. But for the most part, I've been able to find most of the anime I want to watch on my list. I've been just going through Netflix and Hulu. And I've just been going through both of those. And especially Hulu has so many anime. I've been like... I feel like I'm almost reaching the end of watching stuff on Hulu, and then I'm gonna move on to another service. But I even still have a few more on Hulu. Like in this last 2 years, I've just been marathoning through anime, mostly on Hulu, and also a few on Netflix. Like Netflix had like Your Lie in April, and Hulu had a bunch. I saw like Psycho-Pass, Erased, My Hero, a bunch of these shows on there. Yeah, and then aside from that, like I said, if I can't find the show anywhere, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna have to go find it online. and that's a hassle sometimes. But the other thing is also YouTube. Believe it or not, you can still find anime on YouTube. Only certain ones, but you can look up. I feel like if they're lesser known, you can randomly find like the whole thing on YouTube. Like I'm watching Legend of the Galactic Heroes right now. There's a channel that uploaded all the episodes. Well, not all of them, but like a lot of them. So for now, I'm watching them all on there. I saw like Rainbow. What was it called? Like Rainbow Nisha no Robaku. That's another great anime that I watched on YouTube because some nice soul uploaded it. So that's pretty cool. And I don't know. I'm pretty sure that's not legal, but I guess they're the shows, if they're obscure enough, they're hidden and no one really none of these companies really find it. So yeah, you can find stuff. And also, Funimation themselves upload a few of their series, and I think Sentai does too. Like not all of them, but there's like you can find a certain magical index. I think is on. They uploaded all of them on YouTube. I think Gankutsuo, some of those were on YouTube. Anyway, so yeah, but for the most part, I'm still watching more on Hulu. I think Netflix is kind of weak on their anime, but I've been watching on Hulu.
They're trying to do their own thing.
Yeah, Netflix is, I don't know, they don't have very many good ones, but luckily they uploaded a few more, or they brought a few more on. Like they have March Comes the Lion now, and I know that's a really good anime. And
they just got a silent voice on there.
Yeah, and a silent voice, that's really good. And Anohana, I'm planning to watch. They just added that, so I'm planning on that one.
Yeah, that's on my list. Yeah.
So, who are the let's see, your favorite female characters in anime?
Waifus.
They don't get a lot of love. It could be a waifu, or it could just be one that you think is a great character.
Well, when we're talking about favorite women, I would say, I love Zero Two. Darlene Franks. She was kind of like the main, your main squeeze, pretty much.
Yeah.
So Zero Two was pretty awesome, and I love, dude, the subreddit actually on Darling in the Franxx is amazing.
Yeah.
Like I will say the community is booming because you go to a lot of other anime subreddit pages.
Oh yeah,
I've been
some of them
into,
don't have much.
Some don't have anything. Like you go to like even Kogias. Kogias is like
I'm following that one.
Yeah. It has like 23,000 members.
Their community is decent.
But
I think it helps that Darling in the Franxx was recent. Too,
yeah.
That it
true.
like in this age, then it made a big community. But that's cool.
Yeah, and so it has like 60,000 members or whatever, and like
nice.
It's so fun to be a part of that one. It's good stuff. Healing to the soul. Trust me.
Well, if you think that's bad, I'm part of a Siren community, and there's currently like 12 members on it. It's this manga that like I guess not very many people have read. But yeah, I make a post on there, and like there's no one there.
Yeah, I mean it's sad, but it is what it is. So 02 was one. I would say Winry. I loved Winry. Yeah. I thought she was actually such a good character in Full Metal Alchemist, if you haven't seen it. Winry, and I wish something would have happened, but I mean, it's not really the cause of the whole show. I know that's kind of like, it would kind of probably put a... kind of like a fork in the road as far as like how the plot needs to go. But I do love them. I do love the interactions between Ed and Winry. Whenever they're on screen together, I think it's pretty good chemistry, and you feel like something's gonna happen. But anime.
Tsundere's the best, man.
Dude, Tsundere, yeah.
Some people hate it. I like Tsundere.
Yeah,
it's fun.
It's I thought she was a good character. She's well drawn, and obviously a lot of like cute designs or whatever and stuff, and good personality traits and all that stuff. Another one I would say recently is I saw Rising of the Shield Hero and Raphtalia.
She's cool.
Raphtalia was pretty awesome, and
did you finish that? Is that over now?
Oh, it was actually.
Did you like the whole thing?
I actually really liked the whole thing. I enjoyed it. I'd probably give it like an 8.
I have it on hold. I'll finish it someday.
Yeah, I thought it was really good.
I liked it.
As far as isekai go, because isekai right now has kind of been like on the down for me.
Yeah.
It's been such a drag to really. So I thought this show did pretty well as far as kind of keeping the hype. It started off like really dark, and it doesn't really keep that keep that tone, because it kind of turns into a different anime. But it's good though. I would actually recommend it a whole bunch, just because if you're looking to isekai, if you're looking for kind of like that genre, I think this is a really good one. And like I said, Raphtalia was probably one of my favorite characters and favorite things about that show. Just the character, I forget the main character's name.
I don't even know. The Shield Hero.
The Shield Hero. Yeah, I mean the Shield Hero. Just say. Yeah. Naofumi. Naofumi and Raphtalia. Whenever they're on screen together again. Yeah. Naofumi-sama! It was actually just such good interaction. They treated her so well. And that's what I loved about it too, because she was a slave technically.
Yeah.
And so I think wholesome. It was really good. And actually there was like such controversy behind the anime. I didn't even know. just because of the rape allegations.
Oh yeah,
and,
rape allegations. Yeah.
stuff that was happening in the actual real world. And
Yeah.
so because I think forget the senator, like not the senator, but the who was running.
Someone talked about Shield Hero, a politician.
No, like it was like. It was just, I don't know. It was weird, though.
I just want you to know I do not support Shield Hero.
Yeah, right.
That's not my anime of choice.
And it was just like, it was wild, though, because, like, people were saying, like, oh, because, like, these rape allegations and how, I don't know how far you got into the anime.
I already got to that part. I'm waiting for her to get, I'm on, like, episode 9. I'm waiting for that one girl to get what's coming to her. The one who did that. Yeah.
I mean, it's a little
that's one of the things that makes you want to keep watching, just to see her get it back to her, whatever.
She's the most hated person ever. But there was a lot of controversy between like the slave crest and
that too, I guess.
Because
he lets her out of it though, right? Or something happens to where she gets out of it, basically.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no. Does she get it back?
She gets it back because that's her own choosing. Because there's people like saying like, oh, like you're just being, because they. I don't know. People got way too into it.
But
like,
he freed her
syndrome
from slavery.
Exactly, and so they were bringing up things. I'm like, dude, you're looking way too into it.
He's working in a different society from Mars where slavery is accepted, and he had to make her a slave to get her out of that other slave.
Right. And so, I mean, I get why, because like, I don't know. I'm not gonna get into it, but people were just like really like way too far into it.
So she's your waifu.
She's waifu material for sure. Mai from Bunny Girl.
Oh yeah,
Bunny Girl, dude.
One of my top picks, dude.
Yeah, her character was awesome, and
that
I think
anime,
the dialogue in that show between her and Sakuta.
Yeah, both of them. That's waifu, and what's the other one? What's the husband one? Husbando. Both of them, man.
Yeah, dude. She was awesome. I think I loved her character. And I wish the anime really. I guess have more of them in it.
Yeah, my only gripe, I loved it, but near the end it kind of didn't really give us much. Kind of teased the relationship, like focused on other things and didn't really give us Mai and Sakuta time.
Yeah, and I wish it was more of them. But
it's still better than most romance anime. And they got together right away, and I like that.
Yes, and that's another thing too.
No wasting time.
There's an anime trope, again about like there's the main guy, right? There's the main girl, and they like each other, but they're not gonna do anything about it. Yeah. And they dance around each other, and they,
I'll tell you what, we'll talk about the romance genre.
But yeah, anyways,
up. Yeah, we'll get into that.
I would say another one for me is Rem. Rem is well known. I mean, if you've watched ReZero, you know who Rem is.
Tell me what's so good about Rem, because where I thought she would. The part where I got to was where she killed him, and I'm like, this girl's a psychopath. But now everyone says she's waifu, so I don't get.
You have to go past it just because that part of the anime, you'll see it'll make more sense just because once he comes back to life again and they kind of talk through things, you'll see why she killed him. Because she thought.
Is there a good reason?
I mean, yeah. There's a good reason because she thought he was the cause of all the evil and stuff.
Okay,
whatever.
Sure.
And so he thought he was the source, and which technically he is. Spoilers, kind of thing. But so if you get later onto the show, she loves pretty much Subaru, and they kind of like get really close to each other, but. He ends up picking Amelia anyways because Amelia is kind of like the main.
Yeah, I thought they had a good romance, but apparently everyone roots for the other one.
I'd say Rem because Amelia's like.
I thought they had Amelia. I really liked the relationship. Like I should probably say I got like 8 episodes in before stopping.
You really gotta watch the full thing to get everybody on the
Rem side. I lost interest when they started just spending all the time with Rem and Ram, but maybe I'll give it another chance. I liked the first 4 episodes. I thought those were amazing.
Yeah, they were really well. I love the anime, and I think. She was just a good character as far as like you really feel for her because she loves Subaru, and I think she like the whole time like they spend together like she really grows, and like it's almost like to the point of like because he has to try over and over and over again to really win these people over again because he dies so much and he goes through such a change, and he still tries to find a way to kind of appeal to them and to kind of grow and develop a relationship with them, and Rem finally I think comes around and starts having feelings for him. And man, I ship them.
Nice. Well, it's nice to hear there's more to her character because maybe that's why I'll try it again because I thought they were just boring, both of them. But anyway, that's cool.
But yeah, I would say those are probably the ones that stick out to me. And Chica. God bless Chica.
Chica? Oh yeah.
The Chica dance, dude. The Chica dance.
Yeah.
Oh man. But yeah, go ahead.
There's a lot of let's see. I don't really do the waifu thing. I know a lot of people like doing that, but I'm like, these are fictional characters. But that being said, I still like, there's a lot of female characters I like in different ways. Like some of them I just really like as people, and other ones I think are great characters. I'll just mix them both together. So first, I agree. I really like Mai. I think she's just a great like romantic partner kind of character. She doesn't get all mixed up in again there's always these what's the word? These misconceptions that happen in romance anime, and then the girl gets all upset and the guy is all confused, but then she doesn't fall for that. She's like right away understands what's going on. And then I really like Saber from Fate Zero. I just thought she's a great female character, just a great character. She just had she was like a king in the past, and then she failed, and then she's kind of like she has to be brought back to life, and I just thought it was an interesting character.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a few other. I really like Setsuko from Rainbow. So that's an anime, again, barely anyone has seen it, so that's already one thing. And then barely the people who've seen it, because no one's seen it, no one talks about it, and because of that, no one talks about this girl named Setsuko, who is like probably one of my number one favorite female characters. She's just so endearing, such a great character, and how in such a tough scenario she's in. I won't give any spoilers, but she really helps out some of the main characters. Another one, I think Nina or Anna, whichever name you prefer, from Monsters, a really great female character. I really like Nami from One Piece. I think she's cool. I enjoy her character. Had a really sad past. I think Tsunade from the original Naruto was a really great character, like really underrated. Obviously, maybe going towards in Shippuden, then the story doesn't really do much for her. So she still has a purpose in Shippuden. She has some action parts and some parts as being Hokage, but I feel like she really gets her character was underused in Shippuden. But in the original Naruto, she had this amazing character arc where she was like this fallen, the great Sannin who's kind of fallen into being a drunk gambler, and then when Jiraiya and Naruto find her, they kind of tell her she needs to get back on her feet, and then she goes through that development. She has a very sad past, and then comes full circle, with Naruto also inspiring her to become the Hokage, and I thought that was a really cool journey in the original Naruto. So I think those are a few female characters I enjoy. Let's do another genre, because let's see. Yeah, we got more time. Let's see. I'm going to pick one. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the drama, because I want to talk about a few anime. So the first one, just so I can say it, because I've talked about it a little, is this anime called Rainbow. So pretty much, I think it's probably my favorite drama. It's this prison drama about these Japanese boys in a post-World War II Japan who are like put in this reform school, which is basically like a prison. So the conditions are very hard. They have these abusive people running the prison. I really like this anime because I think it's really realistic. The characters are really deep, and like each one of them has a hard struggle, like a hard life they've came from, and obviously now they're in prison that led them here to prison. And then what this anime really does too, which I think is great, is that it also shows what happens after prison. Because I feel like a lot of things, it's like you're at a prison, like yay, like like that's the end, like. But we know in real life, like once you get out of prison, you still have a life to return to that's really hard. Life is already hard. Plus, you're an ex-prison, person who's gonna be treated, a certain way. So it shows their life outside of prison too, and it shows all their struggles. It shows that life still is hard after prison. But ultimately, I think the message is uplifting, and I think it's a great anime. And then I'm sorry, I went before you, but I just had some drama. So I guess you just think, because I got like one or two more.
Honestly, I only have one that really comes to my mind as far as drama goes, because I don't really watch. I mean,
sure,
you have a lot of anime that kind of bleed into other.
No, well, what I was gonna say is I feel like most anime have like drama in them.
Yeah.
But what we're specifically talking about is anime that are like mainly drama,
that's what I'm thinking of.
And that's hard because there's not. I feel like, well, there are some, but they're not very popular. Like I feel like anime that are mainly drama are lesser known, but there are still some really good ones.
I would say that one drama that sticks out to me, off the top of my head, would probably be Angel Beats. Angel Beats was actually, I thought, a really good drama because it talks about. So you have these characters like in this kind of like purgatory, if you will, right? It's like an in between the afterlife, because for them, in Japan culture, or whatever, Japanese culture, people they believe to be like reincarnated. So these people aren't reincarnated yet. They're in this kind of like midway path, right? The purgatory, like kind of in between. And so you have the main character who plops into this purgatory, and throughout the story, you kind of find out why they're there, and it's because they haven't fulfilled a calling, or like they haven't really gone after something like that they really not really appreciate, but really are passionate about, or they kind of didn't put that effort forth to really try and do something about it. So he, as a main character, he spends all this time with each different character of his class in this club that he joins, and he gets them to basically fulfill and do that thing that they never got to do in their first life, right, or their previous life. And once they do that, that there's like this feeling of like relief, and they have this feeling of like this peace come over them, and they finally get to be, they move on, right, and they get reincarnated. And that's, I think, a lot of the show's appeal, because they're scared of, hey, like they don't want to like disappear, they don't want to like move on, and they're scared of actually doing something that's going to be I guess getting them to where they want to be. But there's kind of like this whole like I guess like the future, or I guess the unknown parts about like, hey, what does the future have for me? And so I think they go about it in a cool way. I think
this one's on my list. This is one I want to see.
It's a good one. It's a really good one.
Another drama anime I would say is Rose of Versailles. So this is an older anime. It's a story about basically the events leading up to the French Revolution. The French Revolution. I just thought it was a great anime, and it's it is the best shoujo anime I've seen. It's like goes whatever you think of shoujo. Like this is an anime that is like next level. Like it's a very serious, complex story. It's not like it has romance elements, but it's for the most part it's telling this story about like this social struggle and different classes. And if you know the story, what's really interesting about this anime is that if you know the French Revolution, right, you know how that ends with all the people rising up and killing all the the royalty and all that, because they're like under really bad conditions. So but this is the events leading up to it. So the whole time you're like, where these characters are going to end, because one of the main characters is the princess, and Rose of Versailles, and then and the Rose of Versailles is like this. I think it's like the capital of France, or it's where the king and the queen stay, and like other royalty. And also the main protagonist, who ultimately is the main protagonist, is this character named Oscar, who's this female knight, which is this is a fictional part they added to it, but I thought she was a great character. She was like a knight to the queen, to the princess, and like she's just a really good character. And there's also Andre, who's kind of her partner in this, and yeah, it's just a really good story, really dramatic, showing the struggle and showing how like at first everyone loves the the royalty, but it kind of shows transitionally as their conditions get worse and like people are starving that it leads to a revolution, and it's very intense. Let's see. I don't know if there's any other drama I would bring up. I see those are my two.
Yeah, I don't have too much.
Yeah.
To weigh in on that one.
There's definitely more drama on my list. Like I know there's a few more like seinen anime that are really good, and also like there's a few more good ones I've heard of. Who's okay? This is, you can say any character you want. Who's a side character you love? Just one. Just one.
Just one. Yeah. Ah, man, there's so many.
So it doesn't even have to be like the very favorite. It can just be one of them.
I could say Roy Mustang.
Right.
Roy Mustang, if you watch Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, he is probably one of my favorite characters. And there's many, but
yeah,
he one of the greatest moments actually in anime history. I think the moment where, well, I don't want to spoil it for you.
Yeah,
you're going to watch it.
So the thing I should say also, I've seen Full Metal Alchemist, but I haven't finished Brotherhood. That's something I've had. I watched some, and then I was like, I'm just gonna save it for another time. But go ahead.
Yeah, for anybody that knows what I'm talking about, the thing he pulled off, and the action, and the whole like, yeah, he's just, I think, a good stand-up character. He fights for what he believes in, and he stands up for pretty much like good things, right? And so I think he adds a lot to the main cast, and I think he's a great supporting character for like the brothers, which is Ed and Al. And he's just a great character overall.
Yeah. Would you say FMAB focuses a lot more on Roy and also the Hawkeye girl? And
yeah, it has a lot more focus on them.
I was gonna say, yeah.
I think in the first, Full Metal. Oh God, it's been so long actually.
I could say because I've seen the original. He definitely was a great character, but I feel like he didn't get him, and especially Hawkeye and just their group didn't get that much focus. I just had the feeling that Brotherhood would probably give them more.
No, I think they do actually get it more because it does revolve around like different kind of stories all coming in and culminating
that's
kind of like
I love
into
that.
a singular story. And so you do have those parts of like, hey, this is going to be about Roy and Hawkeye, and I really do like Roy and Hawkeye.
Yeah,
I think they have like kind of a cool like.
Do they end up getting a romance?
I don't think they do, just because like they're both in the military, right?
Yeah.
And it's pretty much known that he does have, I'm sure, has feelings for her, because I think there's a point in the anime where something happens and he loses it, and so yeah, I think they have a really good dynamic and good chemistry between the two, and I really do like their characters. So Roy would probably be one of my favorite side characters.
Nice. Well, I'm gonna say one of my favorites, who probably is my favorite, and that is Rock Lee from Naruto. I just have to talk about
Yeah.
him. He is like, from the moment I saw this boy come in
The Volcano.
and freaking take out Sasuke, who was like one of the strongest people we knew, in the tuning exams, just before it even started. Rock Lee's like, "Hey Sasuke, let's have a little hustle, or let's have a little match." And then he takes out, and then Naruto charges in and he freaking knocks aside Naruto, and then Sasuke, and and then he like freaking scares Sasuke, almost takes him out. And then in the tuning exams, he just has so many great moments. When he's fighting those during the one phase, he's fighting the Sound Ninja. He like takes on three at a time. Like what a beast. And then we get his backstory, and then you see like this dude is really like came from like nothing. Like he has no ninjutsu, no genjutsu. All he has is taijutsu, and I just love that concept. And I just love this character. I think he's funny, but I also think he's very like epic. Like when he gets serious, dude, he has a moral code. He's like, I'm gonna help save people, and I'm gonna be like the greatest ninja without using any ninjutsu or taijutsu.
Yeah.
And then obviously when he faces Gaara, this is like among my very favorite fights in anime, and this is probably like the single most hype I've ever been when Rock Lee. He's fighting Gaara, right? And when I was watching this and I had no idea where the story was gonna go, I'm like, what's gonna happen here? Because these are like two of the strongest characters introduced in the tuning exam. I'm like, why? Who's supposed to win this?
Yeah.
Like, what's gonna happen? And then I think like Gaara, even more. I'm like, this dude is so OP. Like, there's no way Gaara's gonna lose. But then because no one's ever even touched him, and then Rock Lee freaking drops the weights and goes like super speed, and I got so hyped. And then like he kicks Gaara, and like the first person to ever touch him.
Yeah.
And then Gaara's scared, dude. Freaking Gaara, who's like murdering people, getting scared of Rock Lee for those moments. Like that was intense.
epic.
He ends up losing, but which is sad, but still that was a great fight. And then through that, and that's why I like the original Naruto. It focuses a lot more on the certain side characters that in the Leaf. Whereas Shippuden's great, but what's sad is Rock Lee doesn't really get focused on in Shippuden, and I thought he was just an amazing character. Really sad, and he has good character development. Near the later parts of the original Naruto, when he loses, like where he has like a broken leg, and then he's like never gonna be a ninja again, but then he ends up getting a procedure where he's able to like then come in and help the fight against Kimimaro.
Yeah,
but yeah,
that fight was awesome.
Yeah, I love Rock Lee.
Yeah, there's so many characters, I think, side characters from Naruto that I love too.
Yeah, that's one of its best qualities, and that's why I love Naruto, is there's so many great side characters. And Shippuden as well has a lot of great ones, but it's just different. It's like more so the Akatsuki and different villains, whereas the original, I kind of like the original, how it focused on all these like Shikamaru and Neji
really
and Gaara and all these people who are like really cool.
Yeah.
So that is a favorite side character. Now let's do this, since we got probably a few questions left. Let's do the anime specific genres. We're just gonna knock through all four. Try to be more quick on it, because I think they're let's talk about them. So I'm gonna let you, since you're more of first one is isekai. I'm gonna let you take this one because you're more the isekai guy between us.
Yeah. I'd say the isekai genre, obviously the first of its kind was not Seo, but I think that was the one that was really to propel it into like the state where it's at, to really become its own genre. And I think it's an interesting genre, and I know why it appeals to so many people, because hey, we're watching anime to kind of like escape or whatever, or like kind of like, hey, let's watch something different. And so it takes that appeal to be like, hey, like it's a normal person, like everyday otaku, and then you have, Truck-kun running somebody over.
Where did that meme start?
Dude, Truck-kun is amazing. Well, because literally every isekai starts with, hey, you either you die or you get transported. So
that's awesome.
If they die, you get hit by a truck. And so
just like that's how it starts. I'm trying to think of one that starts.
Dude,
I know.
Dude, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I think Konosuba starts.
Because I know ReZero, he just starts. He's in like a convenience store, and then he's transported.
I can't even think. I've seen an anime though. Where
sure, but that's a funny meme.
Anyways, but okay. Yeah, so Truck-kun runs them over, right, and so they get transported to this other world that they have no like recollection, and I think the appeal to it is because like, hey, we have to explain everything because this person's in a new world and he has no idea. So like it helps them, I think, world build, because they have to like say, hey, this is our world. This is like, so I don't know. I think to setting wise, that's why it appeals and it's so easy to do it.
But what are like your favorites?
I'd say my favorites,
from the isekai.
Probably Rising the Shield Hero. I thought it was a great isekai. But my favorite, I think, isekai for sure would be ReZero. ReZero,
Yeah.
I think, stands head and shoulders above the rest as far as like, um, stuff goes as isekai goes. So yeah, that's my isekai thoughts
Sure.
on it at least.
I have nothing against the isekai genre. It seems like right now it gets a lot of hate, and I mean, it should be expected when it's a really popular and like they're popping out
Yeah.
like several each season. People get tired of it. But yeah, I don't really watch that many isekai. It's not really a genre I'm really invested in. But that being said, like I enjoyed Sword Art Online. Devil's a Part-Timer is like a reverse isekai. I thought that was a fun show, and like the ones I've seen, I actually have enjoyed a few of them. Rising of the Shield Hero, I liked, and also ReZero. I liked both of these. The problem is, I lost interest in both of them. I didn't drop either of them. I just have them on hold. And another thing to know about me is I have a big on hold section of like 50 anime, and I have like a bunch dropped, and I also have like hundreds more planned. So I just have so many anime to watch, not enough time. I have to end up prioritizing.
Yep.
That being said, I do want to say for ReZero's case, those first 4 episodes were phenomenal. Like, that's why I didn't drop it. I'm still gonna give it another chance because those first 4 were like those were incredible, like so thrilling and mysterious, and like that's the kind of isekai I want to see. And like I like how it was like resetting every time, and he had to like he was trying to every time he'd end up dying, and he was trying to figure out like what's even going on in the beginning.
Yeah.
I just feel like it slowed down once he got to that
The
mansion.
The mansion arc.
Yeah, and I'm like, what now? Well, I don't know what you're doing, but
Yeah.
Anyway.
It gets better once you get to like.
I liked it when
yeah.
he's exploring different areas every time. That's what I liked about it.
Yeah.
Of the like trying to find new routes to like figure out what to do, and then they were stuck at a mansion every episode.
Mhm.
But anyway, so yeah, isekai. I enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a good
sometimes it's not one of my favorites, but next is Battle Shonen.
For me, I'm not huge into Battle Shonen. I mean, I've watched Naruto and I've watched, and Dragon Ball Z, I guess. But for me, I'm not huge into Battle Shonen just because of how long they are. And it's like you said, there's not really enough time to watch all the anime and all the stuff that I want. Like, I want to watch Hunter x Hunter, and I want to watch JoJo's, and I don't have time.
Yeah.
And there's Yu Yu Hakusho too. And so those are all kind of long running anime, and I feel like I just don't have the time to like put into it as far as like
Yeah.
because there are 100+ episodes usually.
And it's
besides I think Yu Yu, but I mean I don't know. I know it's a good it's a good genre, and if I had the time I'd probably watch it. And right now I'm watching Black Clover, just kind of in the background, and I'm on episode 8. Like I'll be doing something and I'll just throw it in the background, and I already know exactly what's going on without even having to read all of it, because it's just kind of very like, okay, it's basic. So until it picks up, I'm sure I'm probably not going to pay too much attention to it. So I don't know. That's my take on it.
Sure. Battle Shonen is one of my favorite genres, possibly my favorite, just because it's the genre I started out in, right? Naruto, One Piece, Hunter x Hunter, Bleach, and then I got into others like Yu Yu Hakusho, and I just love these. Now, I do think some Battle Shonen are bad. Like, there's some of them that I don't enjoy. But the ones I like, I love, and they're among my very favorite anime. And like I said, I think Yu Yu Hakusho is incredible. And it goes above just having, like, you know, the regular tropes of you have fights and you have a character who's has this big ambition, but, you know, there's a lot of interesting characters. And I do like the Battle Shonen. It appeals to me on some levels. Like, I like the idea of having this large, grand story, and I like the idea of having all these different characters and having all these different story arcs where it's like you have each, you know, you have these same group of this same protagonist, but they're going to go through different story arcs, where sometimes a short anime is just like one story and then you're done.
Yeah.
But that being said, once you're past, once maybe you're an adult, you don't have as much time, it gets harder and harder to watch these shows. That's why I think I'm fortunate that I watched them when I was at a younger age. So at least I got them finished now. But yeah, that's the only drawback. I agree with you, Jagger, that when they're super long, because like I'm trying to think of a long one that I haven't seen. Well, at this point, like Dragon Ball Z, I don't know how I'm ever gonna watch that, because I watched like 40 episodes.
Yeah.
I enjoyed them, but I just don't want to watch 300. And then Bleach too. I really liked the 60 episodes I watched, but I don't want to watch, another 200 of those. So it's just tough for that. But like I said, the ones I love, and I love the hype, and this is the main place where the hype comes from. Mm-hmm. Even an average shonen like Black Clover, and I was just watching episode 4, and this came back to me, dude, when he's facing off against the guy who has a shield, and he just comes in and whacks him right away. I'm like, I got so hyped, dude.
Yeah, I was like,
whoa,
I didn't expect it.
Dude, he's just like the dude's talking all this trash and just one shot, dude. See, Battle Shonen, they just do stuff like that, man. You just got these hype moments. I already said stuff with like Naruto, and then One Piece as well has so many awesome moments. And also, I think there are certain ones that you just get in this journey, and it's not as much about it being a Battle Shonen. Just some of them are just great stories. Like One Piece is this epic journey with all these different cultures and civilizations clashing, and then you have Luffy, who's kind of this wild force going throughout, and ultimately he's helping people along the way. You have Hunter x Hunter, which is this super. If you just look at it, it looks like a typical shonen, but when you actually watch it, it's this super complex story where it goes through like different genres every single story arc. It's strange in that way, and it's just super groundbreaking at times. There's these. It pulls off these characters, especially near the end. There's some villains that like you've never seen anything like Hunter x Hunter. It's a unique show, and then Yu Yu Hakusho as well. I think they're both made by the same author. I think Yu Yu Hakusho is probably the best of all the battle shonen. I would say that one's the best. Just as far as being balanced, it has everything. It does everything. It excels in character. It excels in its fights being well executed. It has very interesting themes. And Yu Yu Hakusho explores a lot of different characters who are like coming. It's coming from a morally gray place where it's like you have some characters who on Yusuke's side who are kind of a little mixed, they're kind of getting from a bad place, and then you have villains who started out well and then ended up being bad, and you kind of see the way they fell. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's great. Mm-hmm. And Yusuke's a great character, and I just enjoy Battle Shonen. Yeah. So let's see, Mecha. I'll go ahead and say I don't really watch that many Mecha. Mecha's the next one. I mean, I am interested in trying out more. For the ones I've seen, I enjoyed Code Geass. Evangelion, I didn't like as much. See, my problem is a lot of times the things I'm least interested in mecha shows are the mecha moments. Like, I don't know if that's... But that, like I said, I've only seen a few. But I'm way more... Like in Evangelion, I was way more interested when they're outside of the mechs and when we're exploring their characters. But when they're in the mech battles, they're just... they're just like battles. They weren't that interesting.
Yeah, fair enough. But
Code Geass's battles were pretty... I thought they were... the mech battles were a little bit cooler. But go ahead.
Yeah. For this one, I definitely... It's like a staple for the anime genre. Or I guess the medium itself. Because not so much prevalent in these days, just because there isn't too many mecha anime going on. You still have like your huge Mobile Suit Gundam kind of thing. That's kind of like reminiscent.
Yeah, that's the one I need to get into someday. Isn't that like a huge... Like
it's gigantic.
There's so many different anime, right? But are they all the same story?
No, they're all different stories. It's like the same universe, different stories.
See, that's like a long battle shown, and you're like, how do I even start?
It's similar to the Fate thing.
It's overwhelming. It's like, how do I even start that?
Yeah, it really is overwhelming, and I think a lot of the fans just kind of keep it going because they know and they just kind of stick with it. But it's overwhelming to really get into it.
That'll be my next phase.
But yeah, I love it. I like it. Because there's mecha, and then there's like, I think they call it like super mecha or something like that. So there's things that are it's like you have a mecha that are going to be like, okay, it's going to be a robot. It's this big robot. You're going to see all the gears, and it has to move in a certain way for it to be like a mecha, right? And then there's like your super mechas, which are more like, your Gurren Lagans and those things that, it's probably doesn't make sense for a robot to do. And so those two are kind of different. So I like the Gurren Lagann. I liked SSS Gridman. I liked... What else was there? Yeah, like you said, Code Geass was a good one. But really, at the end of the day, I don't think it boils down to like a mech show. Because I feel like it's like the least...
With Code Geass?
Yeah.
With Code I know. That's probably why I liked it. It had so many other things going for it.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think. I think Gurren Lagann, SSS Gridman, and... what other mech one? The Iron-Blooded Orphans, and that's a Mobile Suit Gundam show. That one was actually a really good one. I haven't seen any other mobile suits, but that one was actually really good. It's 50 episodes long, and I had a really good story. I really liked it. Nice. And it really caught me off guard because I was like, I'm just gonna watch it.
Yeah, can you watch it before watching other stuff? Yeah. So you can. That's my main thing. If I can jump into it, I'll jump into it. But
yeah, you can go in blind, and
if there's a huge order.
So the mecha genre it's good.
Yeah.
If you like that kind of stuff.
Sure, and I know it's really popular. I know I haven't really got into like deep in the mecha, so someday I will. But I have enough things I want to watch right now. So the last one's Harem. I don't have much to say. I don't watch Harem. I don't care for Harem.
I feel like Harem is in a lot of anime. I feel like a lot of it's just it becomes one of those anime tropes.
Yeah.
Just because you have one guy and like a ton of girls around him, and so it hardly ever really propels the story forward. Yeah. I mean, unless I've heard of the quintessential quintuplets or whatever, which is like a How I Met Your Mother kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but it's whatever for me.
Yeah, it just doesn't appeal to me. If you like that, you enjoy it. But if I'm watching a romance, I want to take it seriously, and I would prefer it to be like one person pursuing another person, not like one person pursuing 10 people.
Yeah. More, yeah. If you like it, dude, more power to you. And more
Yeah.
whamming, more enjoyable
That's why
things.
Bunny Girl Senpai really caught me off guard because I'm like, this looks like a typical harem that I'm gonna hate, and then I don't know why I watched an episode of it and I'm like, this is actually
I think
pretty
that
good.
caught everybody off guard. That
Yeah.
show, it was like
Dude.
everybody. You read it on Mal. You're like, oh, this is gonna be a trash show. There's like
Yeah.
a bunny girl on the thing, so it's like it's just gonna be.
I shouldn't
another
even
harem.
watch it because it seriously looked like, and it looked like it had the sister who had like a weird incest thing going on. So I'm like,
Yep.
it's like has all the setup for that, but
Yeah.
but then it wasn't.
And then it doesn't go that way. So I was like, really. So yeah. I think that's all I have to say.
All
about
right,
that one,
for
though.
sure. So I say we're nearing the end. I don't know if there's any other questions or topics you wanted to explore. If there's any other genres you want to pick, or
I would say I guess favorite OPs.
Ooh, yeah.
OPs. I would say
I
is a
got
good
a
one.
ton.
I'll go first because I have it already in my head.
Sure.
I would say the favorite OP to date would probably be Mob Psycho 2. Mob Psycho 2's OP, I think, man, I bumped that in my car.
Mhm.
It gets me going. It's like really like it goes so hard because I think it fits well with the anime because it has like this cool like Persona vibe to it. If you have seen anything Persona 5 related or kind of like in that kind of genre, it's very colorful. It pops out, and I like too that it's like self-written. The song itself pertains to the anime. It has to deal with it. So I thought it was really cool, and it jams.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of other good OPs.
I know, there's so many great
A lot
ones.
of good ones.
Yeah.
And I think I don't want to keep beating the Full Metal train. or
Dude,
the Full
FMAB
Metal-
opening
yeah,
one.
dude.
Boy,
But the
that-
Full Metal Alchemist
that hype's
Brotherhood and even some of the original ones had
Yeah.
some of the greatest openings.
That first one's iconic, man.
Yeah.
Of Brotherhood.
And I will say, Domestic Girlfriend has
Dude, I was gonna
no
say.
right being that good.
Yeah.
It has no right being that
Dude,
good.
that is one of the best songs I've heard, and I don't that's obviously a trash anime I'm never
Dude,
gonna watch.
It's
but
a dumpster.
I
fire.
put that. I have this playlist on Spotify of every anime song I could find. That's original too. But yeah, it's
But
I have that one in there. It's good.
Yep.
I like a lot of openings. Just going through them. I think Code Geass has a lot of good ones. I think the first one's great. 3, 4, and 5 are great. I think Naruto has a lot of great ones. I think opening 5 hypes me up, and 4. Those are like my two that really get me nostalgic. Like, we are fighting dreamers. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, that was a good one.
So good. Let's see. I'm trying to think of another really good one. Erased opening 1 is perfect, man. That one's
Yeah, that was a good one.
beautiful. That one's really good. Also, are we doing ending themes? Because there's a lot of good ending
I mean,
themes.
honestly, I feel like I skip Edie's.
Dude, I love ending themes. There's so many great ones. Sometimes even better than openings. Like
Yeah.
Full Metal. Okay, well, Brotherhood ending one's amazing. That's another great
yeah,
one.
Brotherhood does have good ones.
There's a bunch of great ones. I'm trying to think of another. Let's see. I think Monster. Well, Monster is totally not a typical opening. It has more of a musical thing, but it has really great opening and ending.
Yeah, I haven't. I
Look
yet to
up,
watch
dude.
it,
Just look up the ending. It just fills you with fear. So, that's good. Another. I'm trying to think of, since we're in the last few questions. Another one I want to ask. Okay, any anime you want, any at all. Just bring one up. Maybe one you haven't said yet that you just want to talk about and like maybe recommend. One you recommend.
Let me think about it. Hold on, give me a sec here.
I got one. So while you're thinking, I recommend Boarding School Juliet. So I was talking about how like I'm not really big on comedy, and I didn't say this, but I'm also not huge on romance either. I feel like most romance aren't very good.
That's fine.
So as I was saying, Boarding School Juliet is a romance comedy anime that I actually enjoyed. I thought it was genuinely funny, and I thought again right away it kind of fixes the things I don't like about the genre. Right away the couple like kind of gets together. And it's just interesting the way it does it because it's based off the story of Romeo and Juliet, where it's like two factions that despise each other. And in this case, it's like two factions, but now it's at a school where it's like each of the factions have like a school that they have. Anyway, that's a great anime. It's only 12 episodes. So also I like that. I hate when romance drags out episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So I recommend that. So how about you, Jagger?
I would say Dr. Stone is the one I really like right now. That one, to me, appealed just because I feel like it's pretty different because like it takes place in a place. I mean, not takes place in a place. It's pretty much talks about and follows Senku, which is like the main character, and then basically everybody in the whole world gets like solidified and they turn into statues, right? And so he's the first one that's actually out of stone, so he gets unsolidified, and so he's basically like this super genius kid, and he tries to rebuild the basically ground up whole civilization, and he tries to implement all the science in it, and he ends up reviving this guy named Tsukasa, and he ends up being like this crazy strong high schooler because he needs him at the moment. So he's like, hey, I know this guy, he's really strong, we need him. So he unpetrifies him, and there ends up being a kind of he ends up being kind of like the antagonist of it, because his values, he wants to basically keep the world all young people, all youth.
Say that again, because that was interesting. Who's the antagonist?
So the antagonist is like this, he's well known throughout the world. He's like the strongest high schooler kid like ever. And so he's been on like a bunch of shows and stuff. He's like world like famous or whatever. And so he ends up reviving him because he's in a pickle, Senku, because they're running or whatever. And so they're running from lions, and he needs like, somebody to keep him alive. And so he revives Tsukasa and he helps him out. So they survive. Yeah. And so Tsukasa ends up saying, hey, this is like my ideals. Like I
was he in the first episode? I don't know. Then I didn't see him yet.
So he becomes the antagonist because he wants to keep this new stone world just to the youth, and he doesn't agree with like, hey, the adults did it wrong, they had war, they had it's kind of like similar views to like what Thanos, like you believe, like, no, like you agree with like, hey, Thanos, you're correct, like there's too many people, probably there's like, we should have like enough, there shouldn't be poverty, and I get it, like fighting for that kind of cause, but you just do it
makes an interesting villain. So you disagree with the way he does it, but because you can at least see his perspective.
Exactly, because he's trying to kill off like a bunch of people, and he's like saying, we shouldn't revive everybody, we should only revive the youth, the young. Good.
Let's see. So I think we're going to have to do the last question. So it's been a good time. So for the final question, what are some of the most epic moments in anime? You can just name a couple.
Man, I have to beat that horse to death with Full Metal. With Roy Mustang, his moment, again, it goes into spoilers, so I have to... Here, come back to me on that one, because you have to...
All right. Well, I got a couple. So the first one, I mean, there's a ton from One Piece. When Luffy, when the Straw Hats are taking on the world government, and then they're trying to save one of their, crewmates, Robin, who's been like captured by the world government, and she's kind of caught in this huge entrapment thing. And then Luffy's just like, he tells one of his crew members to shoot down their flag, and then they're like, dude, do you know what that means? You're declaring war on the world government. And Luffy's like, I don't care. We're gonna save our friend, and we're gonna take you guys on. And then from then on, the world government is like this all-encompassing force that covers the whole world, and it's pretty intense. And that was a great moment. I already said Rock Lee versus Gaara. That's amazing. So the next one I would say is just, there's a ton. With Naruto himself, when Naruto shows up to fight Pain, that was like one of my favorite moments.
Yeah, the Pain,
dude, because Pain is just taking everyone out. He's destroying the Leaf Village, and then Naruto comes in with his new Sage mode, and then he looks like a boss. He's freaking on top of a toad who's on top of like two other toads, and then Pain, one of the Pains charges at Tsunade, and then Naruto drops down and smashes his head into the ground, just like one shot. And these Pains are like destroying the whole village.
Yeah, they killed Jiraiya.
Yeah, and he's just like one shot, and I was like, boom. So I say those are two.
I'll say for Mob Psycho, because I don't think you're gonna watch it. I don't know.
I will eventually. No, but don't. I mean, go ahead. Just say it.
Well, I would say because it's gonna happen anyways, and it doesn't go into spoiler really territory. But when he loses control, I think for the first time, you really see like the scale of his power, and like it's crazy. Like he ends up like throwing buildings and like things like cities and stuff are like it gets crazy. And so him finally going like full like 100% like psycho mode was pretty insane. Another one would be, I would say even recently, I think The Promised Neverland, the moment, I don't know if that goes in a hype moment or just like a wow moment.
Yeah, if it's no, that hypes you up. If it's like really insane or inspiring or whatever.
I don't know. I thought The Escape, like
yeah.
Like the whole part of where
that's hype.
And I don't want to get into spoilers because if anybody
it's new, don't spoil it.
I'm not going to spoil this one because it's like fairly new. But like where they're plotting to kind of like escape, the place, and one of the kids there, I think it was Ray. Something like occurs, basically something happens with Ray, and like the whole thing kind of just really shifts its tone, and something just unexpected happens, and I think when that happens, when they try like escaping and like, Ray thought of like one thing, but everybody else was thinking another plan. Like that was really cool because like all this thought went behind planning to get out of it in such a cool way. So when they finally escape and move on, like it's crazy.
All right. Well, that's a good place to end it. Thank
Yeah.
you, Jagger, for joining. I hope you can come on again sometime.
Yeah,
talk about
dude.
more anime and other stuff.
I love it.
Thank you for listening. If you're listening on Spotify or another podcast place, you can visit the YouTube channel. I think it's Jiraiya C. That's spelled like the character from Naruto. So Jiraiya and then a C. And then I think you can find the channel. Also, you can look up the East Blue Podcast. Drop us a comment if you're still listening. I don't know if anyone is. But say, what was your, how did you first get into anime, and what were a few of the anime you saw? Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time.